Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in, welcome in. A fun Tuesday night ahead of us. I say a fun Tuesday night, but make no mistake, I was going to complain. I was going to get on here and complain about the NBA games. Not the way IT wanted to start it off, necessarily negatively. I guess we're going to go full NBA on TNT and we were going to start complaining about player. I guess we were going to complain about players. We were complaining that the games were going to be bad, but we were going to call out guys individually, just franchises and organizations for putting the combination of guys together. Like, maybe, space these guys out on some different teams and they'll be okay, chat. But all on one unit, it's clearly not quite meshing quite like you would expect. But I guess for the teams that we're talking about specifically right now and we've only got a 4-team slate as well for a 4-game slate for NBA tonight. 2 in the early window here, 2 in the late window. And we've got Hawks, Hornets, and Nets versus Celtics. And like I said, I was going to get quality of play, why are we throwing away a Tuesday night? And make no mistake, there are bigger picture points. Because it's like the Tuesday before March Madness. I mean, I'm sure if we pull up the schedule here for the Friday and Saturday during March Madness, these games are, and, the Thursday of it's going to be pretty stacked. I mean, I guess not everybody in the league is playing on that Friday night. Are we getting a good Thursday slate? A nice light Thursday. I guess, are we going all in on Saturday? We're just giving away NBA games right now. A light week of NBA games, chat. It is what it is, I guess. March Madness is ahead. We've got only a couple more days before. And I guess we don't even really have to wait. The tournament is technically started right now as well, too. Is that what it is? They have to put the play-in games on TNT. And it's not even just NBA as well, too, chat. Yesterday was St. Patty's Day, so AMC used up their St. Patrick Swayze marathon. And now none of the Patrick Swayze movies are going to be on AMC anymore. I think it's like a superhero run, chat. We've had our run of watching superhero movies. We'll get back in very shortly. Make no mistake. Again, the Batman was on one of the channels, and I was like, oh, wait a second. League Pass Charlotte versus Atlanta or the Batman? Which definitely should be a rating that we do. We should be, what level of movie would it take to, and that's, maybe the problem is maybe for us the bit wouldn't work out, where again the Batman's like a pretty prestigious, pretty high quality movie, chat. I think are we putting it in the annals? Pause. Hey yo, are we putting it in the Hall of Fames, chat? It's a really solid A whatever B plus the grander scale of things. It's a really solid production for what it is, but it's definitely a better movie than this Hawks Hornets game is a basketball game. I don't know, Trae Young for 3, little Dyson Daniels, Trae Young, chat. No, the problem is the Hornets don't have any, the marquee players, I guess. Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball. Mark Williams still out there. His punishment for some of the low effort plays throughout the career earlier is, hey, the other stars get rested due to injury. And Mark Williams, who notoriously injured throughout his career, Charlotte's bad right now, and somehow Mark Williams is healthy. So it has to be punishment, chat, in some way. And now Nets Celtics as well, too. The Nets, we got Maxwell Lewis. I forgot Maxwell Lewis was on the Nets until right now, chat, until I saw his name pop up on this box score. Unbelievable. Maxwell Lewis and Cam Thomas on the same team. We might have a new mistress team, chat, the Brooklyn Nets. Maxwell Lewis is getting minutes. Uh-oh. I legitimately forgot he was on the team, got traded. The Lakers, for all the good moves that they've made this offseason, what are you trading Maxwell Lewis for? Was that part of the Doncic deal, or was that a separate thing? How did somehow they let, I guess Maxwell Lewis hasn't even put up a shot yet today, chat. But was that trade too low level for Rob Pelinka? Did he call that one and cook that one up himself? The Maxwell Lewis deal? Brooklyn was like, hey, we can do this deal, but we've got to get Maxwell Lewis back. I respect it, chat. I respect the hustle. Maxwell Lewis is definitely a player that we would be trying to acquire if we were a team as well, too. Look at this, chat. Little Maxwell Lewis corner. He's in the Mikal Bridges role this week. He's on fire. Nobody is talking about Maxwell Lewis on the Nets. I guess his per 36 is a lot more impressive than his actual 7 minutes a game, chat. But regardless, in those 7 minutes, do we get a totals? What's his totals? The per games. 61 minutes, 7 for 11 for 3, 12 for 21 from the field goal, 31 for... I'm legitimately excited, chat. Maxwell Lewis is getting NBA minutes, and he's actually performing like an NBA player. Sometimes, maybe you just see a guy in college and you go, I think he could be a good NBA player, Chad. There's just something about the way I don't know. I feel like you've seen enough basketball and you just know a guy could be decent. So am I validated? 8 games, 7 minutes, 61 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 for 3. There was a a comet once called Maxwell Lewis that just flashed through the sky in Brooklyn. You know, we're in the positives for the advanced stats. Oh, chat, this made my night. I'm all in on the NBA's got me back. Get the Batman out of here. Get the Dark Knight. If the Dark Knight was on, chat, the Dark Knight or Max. See, that's the problem with the bit, chat. The problem with the ranking is we would legitimately throw Maxwell. Hey, yo, chat. We would legitimately get Maxwell Lewis on the big screen. We would put that game up on the big TV over any high prestigious movie. If Goodfellas, if they were just doing a Goodfellas run on TNT right now, Goodfellas, maybe Casino, Sharon Stone, chat, maybe Sharon Stone could get us to flip off turn off a Maxwell Lewis game. But I'm all in. I'm all in. If you guys know from the draft days, a lot of Maxwell Lewis stocks, so this is very exciting. Hopefully, against a championship level team, he proves his worth. The switchability, the versatility. I thought the Lakers could have thrown him out there a couple of. Who knows? You know, you throw a guy in Brooklyn and the usage, all that stuff. But regardless, he's got some defensive switchability, versatility. There's some shot making upside with him. So it's a bit of an upside play. Make no mistake. But for what Brooklyn is as well too, you got to respect the move. Just getting those types of players in the deal, because that's, I think, what Ainge has always seemed to at least try to do that as well, is to, like, hey, you're not valuing this young guy. Like, maybe, again, we're not bringing in an all-star level player. Like, who knows? Maybe this is the peak of the Maxwell Lewis era, chat, is these first 61 minutes that he played in Brooklyn. But just at least getting those attempts as well too, because you can get the future. But because sometimes I think the teams can even hold on to the future picks as well. Because Maxwell Lewis was a second-round pick, so you start talking, 2029 first lottery, all these different scenarios, and it's like, hey, what if we just what about just Maxwell Lewis, man? Not that would necessarily be, a 1-for-1 equivalent in the trade value, but just to get those types of extra pieces in the deal, definitely make it work. And we see all the time as well too, these moves that, and again, maybe this is not the perfect the perfect example to point to for just a random guy popping off out of the move, but you get the guy that just, you never know, chat. You never know who's going to be in the gym working, who's going to be the one that just has the random, the random steps forward in their game. And maybe it's Maxwell Lewis. Again, the Mikal Bridges role, I think there's similarities. 6'7", what? Equally skinny, chat. Equally very rail thin players, but maybe there's something about that Brooklyn offense with these wing guys that the NBA needs to study. They can get the best. But then didn't Mikal Bridges, he was the head coach, bro. He was never an assistant, right? In Brooklyn, because he just went Brooklyn head coach to Golden State, then to Cleveland. And honestly, where was Kenny Atkinson before that as well too? Kenny Atkinson, the John Hamm of the NBA. Is that a comp? That is a compliment. That is a compliment, chat. But I feel like we could get John Hamm and a Kenny Atkinson recast for sure, if we were going for maybe, a real sexy Kenny Atkinson. I don't know if this is more a basketball movie or basketball is just the setting for whatever, Kenny Atkinson's life story is in this John Hamm acting masterpiece. But yeah, maybe, I don't know, a John Hamm, just John Hamm coaching on the sideline could be a pretty fun scene to see. John Hamm, do a basketball movie. What are you doing? Yeah, in Atlanta and then on the Knicks. And then I guess Brooklyn. Oh, one season on the Clippers as an assistant as well too. Was that Ty Lue? And then Golden State, and then to Cleveland. So I don't think Bridges actually played under Kenny Atkinson. Pause. Hey, yeah. Oh, it would have been Jacques Vaughn, right? Jacques Vaughn was the guy, because I think I remember. Is Sam? I think Sam probably still has Jacques Vaughn stock. I shouldn't assume that just because Jacques Vaughn is not in a head coaching role doesn't mean that maybe Sam's buying more right now because the stock's at a low, chat. Maybe this is the time to get in on what network is Jacques Vaughn on right now, doing the analyst stuff. Yeah, okay, yeah, he's been out of the league for a couple of seasons. Shout out Jacques Vaughn, man. There was a 43 and 32. There was a moment you're like, hey, is he a good coach? 71 uh 70% if you just go 10 games in 1920, I guess as well. I guess that was part of the reason probably for him getting that, you know, extension off the kind of successful run as the interim. But yeah, unfortunately, just didn't work out. But he was able to unlock Mikal Bridges, and then whatever he implemented has continued to stick around, I guess. And Jacques Vaughn over Kenny Atkinson. Now Kenny Atkinson coach. And I mean, for Kenny Atkinson as well, too, you think about where this Brooklyn roster is at. And I don't know if we just going to... Oh, Steve Nash. Man, chat, what a run for Brooklyn. Oh, this would have because of the Jacques Vaughn 7-3. I was like, for some reason, that's not adding up. But yeah. Then Steve Nash took over for the Kyrie Durant. But I mean, if Atkinson was still the guy, if they were like, nah, man, we like the GMs are just committing to Atkinson and we're not gonna let it, like, Atkinson at this point might have been like, hey, just let me go to Cleveland, man. I don't want to stay in Brooklyn. Like, we get it, you guys made this smart basketball decision, but if you're Brooklyn, like, I guess that's not what you want to happen, because you want to build a good basketball team around Kenny Atkinson. But, you know, in terms of keeping a head coach, like, you don't want to fire a guy that is going to also turn around and be a potential coach of the year, potential head coach of a finals making team, you know, depending on what Cleveland does in the playoffs, obviously. But again, for Atkinson, like, this couldn't have worked out better. And I'm sure that going to Golden State and, you know, like a quarterback maybe, you know, learning under Steve Kerr and the things that he picked up with that roster and that unit, I'm sure that was all a beneficial stuff to his tenure, and it made him a better coach and has really helped him now in Cleveland. But regardless, he was still a good coach in Brooklyn. I think we all still kind of liked what he was doing in Brooklyn. I always remember, was there like always talk about like Kenny Atkinson out of timeout stuff? I feel like people were always raving about the Kenny Atkinson ATOs. Maybe it was the other way around. It was like his ATOs weren't good enough, and then, I don't know, he goes to Golden State, works on it, chat, gets the he's like, is Steve Kerr like the Ra's al Ghul of ATOs? Like, Kenny Atkinson has to go into the hills and like learn how to drop out of timeout plays and then go to Cleveland and try to make the finals. I don't know exactly if that's how the timeline played out for our guy, but this all worked out perfect for him. He doesn't need to be in Brooklyn right now. Brooklyn's rebuilding. I mean, I guess you could say, you know, Cooper Flagg, is that a potential? Do we have to check the picks? We always have to check who has, you know, who's pick now. Does Brooklyn use? But I guess Brooklyn got their own pick back. But then they also had, you know, Houston and Phoenix's picks at one point. But then, like I said, they traded Houston's pick back to Houston for their own pick because they traded their pick to Houston for hard. You know, the NBA picks landscape is... There's a lot of confusing landscapes out there right now, chat. The NBA draft picks landscape is right. It might be top 5, just hardest, most difficult things to understand right now to try to just put all the pieces together. But maybe you could say Kenny Atkinson. Would you rather be Kenny Atkinson with Cooper Flagg next season or Kenny Atkinson with the Cavs? But I mean, for this season, we're gonna say Kenny Atkinson has a chance to win a title in Cleveland. Like, I mean, this is a dream, chat. He's looking back going, man, life worked out, chat. Look at the path. Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland. Like, I stumbled right into this team that J.B. Bickerstaff just... I mean, and I guess the comparison was probably made when he was hired as well, too. You know, as being the assistant hired from Golden State. But Steve Kerr being the coach that takes over from Mark Jackson and elevates that roster into a championship contention. And Kenny Atkinson, you know... And I think kind of like with Mark Jackson, and, you know, maybe it's the Cam and Mace propaganda that is making us more pro Mark Jackson than most people, chat. But I think Mark Jackson is and you know, it depends again what you're talking about. Are we talking about Mark Jackson winning a title? Like, are you telling me that Mark Jackson wasn't gonna win? I get Steve Kerr did. I guess that phrase, we're gonna need to go back and watch the basketball, chat, because that phrase is always just thrown around like Steve Kerr just unlocked some stuff. And again, maybe the ATOs were just spectacular, chat. But you're telling me that Mark Jackson wouldn't have won the title with Steph Curry that year? And with that, and, you know, it's like the way they were playing in the finals as well, too. Like, maybe Steve Kerr's, his coaching was a credit to the, you know, them being able to manage the sloppiness of it. But remember, Kyrie was hurt. Like, Kevin Love was out. The Cavs were depleted. And Steph had on and off games as well, too. So... yeah, man, I feel like that recipe could have translated to a win regardless of who the... And that's always, you know, kind of the thing with Steve Kerr and with any coach. It's like, oh, you know, put me or Sam in that role, and now all of a sudden, could we have won the title? Especially that 2017 team. Like, All we have to do is just every now and then, like, say, hey, Durant, like, remember, you need to take a break every now and then because you got the playoffs approaching. But remember, if you are coaching, if you're putting yourself in a time machine and coaching that 2017 team, you're coaching like a peak hungry Durant, where he has had, of course, playoff runs in OKC, getting to the conference finals, in the finals as well too, in the early versions of that team. But he doesn't have the wear and tear necessarily of the compounding it of, because he didn't necessarily have all the runs strung together the same way that he did, of course, just 3 straight years there in Golden State, just in the finals, back to back to back years. But you get him at his peak hungry, sort of peak healthy. The wear and tear is not there. Of course, Steph is still, he's off the finals loss in 2016, so he's still got, he's, I guess, re-hungry, chat. His tummy's growling again for a title. In 2017, he's ready to win one. Obviously, he's willing to take a step back and let Durant enter the roster and be full Durant. Whoa, hey, yo, chat. Be, the peak versions of Durant, not necessarily, Durant does fit into the team, which is a credit to Durant, but with the way Curry was playing as well, too, it's not like Durant had to compromise in any way. Like, Curry was willing to fit around Durant. And, I'm just thinking about this as well, too, chat. Like, we were talking about this with Sam, how in the LeBron MJ thing, we're seeing LeBron in this different role with Luka Doncic, where he's like the number 2 guy in terms of how the offense is run. Like, they're running the offense through Luka, but you're seeing him be impactful in a sidekick role in a top tier. Like, I mean, when he's out there, Chet, of course he's LeBron, obviously. And this is not a hot take to say, but it's just he's up there with the most impactful second best play, quote unquote second best players of all time. Again, if you can even call him that with Luka Doncic, but just with how the roster is structured. And if you hear the bagpipes in the background, chat, they've got some Irish stuff going for this Charlotte Hawks halftime right now. The Charlotte Fire Department is playing the bagpipes. So shout out to the Charlotte Fire Department, man. Shout out to our first responders all across the nation, I guess. Until they're mobilized against this, chat. But IT, are we live? Can we cut that out? But shout out to the good ones, chat. Yikes. The fire department. No, I mean that's one of those like I mean, we're always shouting out the good ones in any profession. It's like injuries with a thing. It's like, yeah, obviously we're assuming that teams are being healthy if we're saying that they're going to win the title. But yeah, I guess that's the bagpipe noise. That's just not us on aux just playing, little background music. But maybe I guess I don't want to judge. If you're throwing on the Charlotte Fire Department, are they even on Spotify? Can we look up the Charlotte Fire Department on Spotify? We might have to, chat, and just see like how many monthly listeners could they potentially have. Is there a couple? I mean, there's got to be a couple of family members, but yeah, but you got to at least think that somebody's checking out. If they're doing half times at NBA games, and again, maybe it's the fire department part of it more so than their bag. Is this a pause, chat? Their bagpiping ability? It sounds like a pause. That's for sure. But yeah, regardless, it's obvious that there's some sort of performance level quality from our guys here. So let's just take a quick look. Oh no, Charlotte Day Wilson is not quite what we're looking for, chat. Not a lot of other 3 named Charlottes, though, I guess, that could potentially be. Oh, are we starting to get into pods and stuff, chat? Oh, we're getting into pods. Charlottesville Police Department? This could start getting sketchy. Oh, Fire Department Club. What is this? I guess this is some band somewhere or some group, chat. So shout out Fire Department Club. It's not the Charlotte Fire Department, but it's some band out there with the Fire Department Club. 2016 EP. A couple of skulls on the covers of stuff. So are we looking like a rock and roll EDM? It's like there's like a psychedelic skullsy type thing going on here with the artwork. So it looks like they got a couple of really big hits and they're leaning into that. So maybe from a couple of years ago as well too. I don't know, is Fire Department Club still active, chat? But outside of Fire Department Club in Charlotte Diamond? This doesn't look like an artist. This looks like woman pastor, chat. I don't know who this is, but she's got more monthly listeners than the fire department club. And who is Charlotte Day Wilson? Is this a famous person that we don't know about? Oh, okay, kind of popular. Not featured on, I don't know, maybe like a vocal feature on something that crossed over in some kind of way. But, oh, wait a second. Here we go. On Freudian. Oh, yeah. And on Kaytranada's latest album as well, too. So I guess the name didn't pop out right away. But I figured there would be some crossover in some way. Oh, on a couple of Kaytranada albums, chat. So big in the Kaytranada verse. The Charlotte Fire Department just will not stop playing the bagpipes, chat. It's just what it is. They've got no other instruments in the choir, I guess. And why are bagpipes so, like, you know, we can't update the, you know, and again, is military the right word for it? But, you know, the forces, we can't update the forces instruments, chat. Like, what if somebody just, like, we can't just bring out, like, a little DJ board or a little sampler and just have a guy make a beat for the Charlotte Fire Department? Who's that one kid that cooked up that beat on that morning show that one time? Like, you know, maybe he doesn't want to be a firefighter in Charlotte, but if you can get him in some kind of, you know, voluntary role, chat, I don't know, just like some kind of PR relations, maybe he's just a honorary band member in some kind of way. And honestly, like, you get him remixing a beat and then throw some bagpipes in the back of that pause, that could be pretty sick. I feel like we'd cook up a pretty nice halftime at that. So shout out to that kid. Hopefully he's doing pretty good at this point, chat. But speaking of music, since we're on the Spotify as well too, I was gonna do a top 5 of songs off of the newest Kendrick album, or not the newest Kendrick album, chat, the newest Playboy Cardi album. I guess we could of course at any time just update our top 5 for GNX, because it's always, I guess, you know, it's always the order of what's being played the most is always changing. You know, earlier in the year it was Whacked Out Murals. It was, you know, Dodger Blue before that. Now it's been The Heart Part 6. I think it's going to be back into pause. You know, it's going to go back to Reincarnate at some point. It's just, you know, the rotation's always cycling. TV, you know, TV off, Luther, all these things are, you know. I think TV off and Luther are, like, just kind of always in the I mean, Luther's everybody's rotation right now. We can look at the stats. I think it's still up there with the #1 song in America. But, of course, he popped up on the newest Playboy Cardi album. And I think you could assume those would be the songs that have kind of stuck out in the rotation. The Travis songs, I mean, all the features as well, too. At least for us, you know, because that makes, with Playboy Cardi, not that we couldn't listen to a song that he does just for the production of it, but, you know, again, in terms of multiple songs in a track list and the totality of a replay value of, like, a whole project, having, you know, I'm assuming as the strategy of it, this album was stacked with features, and as we said in the moment, listen to the album, like, it kept the album fresh and it kept it entertaining all the way through, and it makes it revisitable for, again, because you get to go, and not to say that for us when we're revisiting it, not to say that Playboy Cardi doesn't have performances, but just the types of performances that you're going back for with some of the melodic Travis performances. There's some Travis verses, but then again, you get Kendrick on a verse, but then you also get that Kendrick melodic performance, chat, and I'm not even gonna lie, like, again, we pride ourselves in, I guess sometimes we pride ourselves in honesty. Not always. It's sometimes it's shameful when the honest moments happen, but at least we pride ourselves in trying to be as honest as possible. So this one, I don't know, you know, how this is playing out in your guys' rotations right now, but it's not the backdoor pause, but backdoor with Kendrick in his melodic feature on that track list. Oh, Chad, Zion with the dunk on Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, for the #1 highlight of top 10. But jarring posterizer. Shout out Zion. Haven't seen a Zion dunk like that in a while. Are we back in? Zion to the Spurs, Jack? Can we call that trade back in? Oh, the trade deadline's passed. Bummer. But Wemby, Zion, and De'Aaron Fox and Cooper Flag. I'm talking myself back in, chat. But the Kendrick melodic performance, and again, just this run that he's on, the fact that, you know, this type of song in his discography where he does have fun songs, like a song like Backseat Freestyle is, you know, just him where he's, you know, he's just on, you know, just having a freestyle, you know, just dropping a verse on a beat. Like, he's not necessarily doing the whole storytelling 3-part masterpiece with that type of track, But I would say that he does have more songs that gravitate in that way than not. And again, if we pull up the stats, maybe it is like 60-40 fun songs versus uh, storytelling songs or whatever. But in a mainstream discography like his, to have a split to have a count potentially that high, even if it would still be in favor of the one way, like, would be massively impressive. It's a reason why Kendrick's career is as outstanding as it is because he's been able to, of course, translate this stuff in this way. But I know I was saying this as well too when the song was playing when we were listening to the album live, but I just don't think that we can. And again, we need to get the NFR guys on here to, because I just want to argue the Kendrick melodic performances with them. And it's not to even downplay the storytelling performances. Like, those songs are probably some of the, the best, of course, the best songs in his discography. I mean, his best storytelling song, "Sing About Me," is probably just his straight up best song. And the storytelling aspect that he's able to weave into that is part of the reason that song is also so impressive. But then, the beat as well too is just insane. And, the flows, and there's even like a catchy hook. Like, again, the story, like, if the formula for that song, like, it's still like a really smooth song if there's different lyrics on it. It is just like it's a tough song to revisit sometimes just because it's such a heavy song. Always not necessarily cueing that one in the aux, just to jam out to. But again, as a Kendrick guy and as a guy that listen to a song for production, like, I mean, that's a top tier beat if you're ever gonna just play a song for that reason. But to devalue the melodic performances or the simple sort of features like this is, I don't, it just, to me, they're again important in a guy's discography. And I think I like it when a artist is a guy, just saying a guy, just throwing that out as a neutral term, chat, but an artist discography, like, it's important when they're able to pull off all types of things, chat. Pause. And that's, and it's not just the ability to be able to perform melodically in those times, because you could say Playboi Carti has the ability to perform melodically, but is he, I mean, it's a perfect example, like him on that track versus Kendrick on that track. Like, do we pull up the Genius chat and look at the lyrics? Like, how many lyrics like does Kendrick actually have on that track compared to Playboi Carti, like the Kendrick Playboi Carti split on that track? But Kendrick's writing in just the few verses that he has is so to the point and just so smooth and so unique for what you get in hip hop. It is able to still somehow steal the track, even though he's not necessarily in a super prominent role in a feature. Where on Good Credit, that's like a Kendrick. He's giving you a verse, and then again, not only giving you a verse in the way that he's just like popping on for like 30 seconds and giving you a quick feature. Like, he's giving you a full performance. Pause. And Good Credit. But just the way this is like the Larry Bird just not having to put up, he doesn't have to shoot 20 times in a game to impact the game. Like, he's out there he's getting the assists, he's getting the rebounds, he's getting he's doing the the hook, the chord, which is also crazy to think that you bring Kendrick on a song. And of course Jhené Aiko's on this song as well too, carrying the song melodically as well too. But you bring Kendrick on a song, and maybe Playboi Carti is one of the few artists at this point where Kendrick could melodically outperform on a song. But regardless, it's like you're putting Kendrick on these tracks now, and he's melodically outperforming. And not to say that he's melodically outperforming everybody, because again, a lot of these performances that he's having on these tracks is with SZA, but he's performing with SZA in a way. Not that anybody's going to outperform SZA on a track. SZA's arguably the best vocalist performing right now, but the way for what he is accomplishing on the tracks, he is still performing that in as equivalent a role. Again, he's in the tracks where he's gonna lean into the melodic performances, and SZA's also gonna be on the track as well too. Like, he's gonna kind of be the Klay Thompson vocally in that role. But if Klay Thompson puts up 46, then it's like, well, hey, then maybe Klay Thompson's the best player in the game. It's like, no, of course, what Steph is doing is able to let Klay Thompson do that. But now this is like, it's just like Klay Thompson on his own team, Chad. Now now that he's next to Playboi Carti. But again, the fact that you're able to put him on a track like this, and he's able to be the guy that does the hooks in a way where, not that he was not capable of doing that before, because his cadence is always so unique, and he's able to give you the flows that are going to be different to what where you could put him in a hook type of way. In, like I'm thinking like the Buried Alive interlude is, I know that's not a track that is like super popular to revisit, but guess what, chat? I'll cue that up a couple of times and enjoy listening to it. But it's almost it's an interlude, of course, but an interlude in a way is like a hook for the album, chat. Does that make sense? Are we galaxy braining this too much? I don't know, but you get what we're kind of thinking out there, where it's this break in the performances, where a hook is the break in the verse. I don't know. We didn't even take a music theory class, chat, and I feel like that's pretty accurate. But the music fans are now like, no, that's not what hooks are in the song at all. Blah blah blah. It's this crescendo thing, and who knows, chat. But you still bring him on in the track list to give you a differing performance in that type of way. But chat, who has ever said décolleté in a rap song? Like, what are we talking about here? I put the VBs on your décolleté? Like, that's all he needs to say, and it's like he's outperformed everybody on the track. It's like perfect. And again, that's us, like, we're peak pause, chat. Like, this is, of course, we're peak Kendrick fans. Like, this is you're gonna get Kendrick glazing if you listen to the Rem and Sam pod, at least, especially on the solo pods, chat. Maybe if Sam's here, we'll be respectful, and that's when we'll talk nice about Drake too. And again, to speak nice about Drake now, like, that is something that I always think he does get a little discredited for, where again, if you look at him compared to a guy that is more more message focused, maybe with some of the lyric stuff, and I don't want to say like trying to tell a bigger story, like there's a lot of guys out there, and again, I want to say trying, like, you know what I'm saying, but Drake's writing in what he is saying, especially, again, the highest versions of career Drake that we've seen, Drake's writing in what he is in his lane is still the best writing for that. Like, we see rappers, and hip hop guys and artists and any, we see these people address, and again, I want to call it, frivolous topics. The topics that Drake is addressing a lot in these songs. Like, we see artists address these topics, and Drake's ability to, and again, are there lyrics in some spots that it's like, oh, complicated, canceled. I get what we're saying here, but and still like the songwriting, the wordplay, and Drake again he's still a great rapper, even if it's not the message stuff and all. Even if he's maybe can lean in a little more on the the fun side, we'll say, chat, with some of the lyrical content. But again, his ability to write is when he's locked in, and when he's given us as his best written stuff, is as good of writing as any artist. And that's something I like to think about too, especially with Kendrick, because again, with the messages in his music, like, and with his popularity as well too, now surging to all-time heights. Like, you were seeing posts on Instagram of like professors and teachers in college, like, legitimately teaching his lyrics, and like, oh, we're now going through the Kendrick album and we're going to be breaking down the lyrics in like a real literary way. And again, not to say that hip-hop music has to be that, but to think about these projects as these things in that type of way, where the poems and the Shakespeare play, whatever, like, you're reading from back in the day, like, as much as we think of it as like these old-timey ancient things, and you can, like, you think of it as the old-timey thing in the old-timey thing, if that makes sense. But it's like, at some point, depending on what happens in the next couple of years, chat, if we're able to save all these archives, but at some point these things will be the old-timey things, and people will be, and people will be listening to it and stuff too. Like, we don't have the audio of the Shakespeare and all this, the Beethovens and the Mozarts and all that stuff. Like, I guess, do we have audio? Like, no, we don't have recordings of live time. Am I crazy for even asking, chat, if there's a way that we could have recorded Beethoven back in the day? But just, I'm thinking again from like a written perspective, like looking at the lyrics and thinking about what they're saying. Like, you just think about Kendrick's writing, and again, Chad, this is not, I'm not saying this to, I am saying this to glaze him, but I'm not calling it poetry in the way that, be like, oh, Kendrick, this is poetry. I mean, it is obviously at times, but you think about it in the way, like, if you were to read it like that, and just, you would read any of Kendrick's lyrics, and it's like if he's telling a story, if he's doing the melodic thing, like, they're beautiful lyrics regardless, Chat. And again, I think maybe in the bigger picture topics of him versus Drake in the top, and people talking about what they're addressing in their lyrics, that is the nice thing about Kendrick getting into this lane of hip hop and doing the melodic performances and stuff like this, is a lot of, and for, again, as as much as we're saying, as Drake is well written, and as much as he's had amazing production and again been an amazing artist throughout the course of his career, a lot of, like we were saying, a lot of his lyrics do tend to be, I guess we'll just, they're in that sad boy lane, Chad. It's just what it is. Like, he's either, approaching it from like that, again, that sad boy angle of like, kind of longing after and, I wish and blah, 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 blah. And again, those are all emotions that everybody relates to. And there are times when you need that type of music in your life for sure. But as a go-to just daily sort of play, the way Kendrick is also able to, again, be melodic in these performances, but also a lot of, and especially, in these recent features as well too, be sort of uplifting with the stuff that he's talking about, is nice to just, again, hear where, again, as simple as like, I put VBs on your décolleté, Chat, like it's a positive thought of like security and provision that maybe you don't necessarily get all the time in these types of performances. Where again, Chow, like, I'm as, Chow as messed up as the rest of it. Like, there's the other side of the performances where you're like, yeah, those are the emotions you want to feel. And again, maybe not the sad boy stuff. There's maybe some of the other stuff as well too, Chat. But at the end of the day, like at least for me, like at least for the guys that are good at heart, at the end of the day, Chat, we maybe have a side that we have to lean into at times, but we're good guys at the end of the day. And it's like, again, the message, especially now, I think, is maybe with the place that Kendrick is at. I'm sure, we go back into Kendrick, like he's got, some rougher features, but again, for what he's putting into his catalog now as well, like this is just a great addition to it. So, like, I'm sure, we could go through the Playboi Carti lyrics here, and he might be a little more aggressive with some of the topics and some of the way he's gonna say things. So, like, maybe Playboi Carti is well, I guess, we're probably is Playboi Carti as up on provision as Kendrick is. Is that, is that something? Is Kendrick maybe speaking to Playboi Carti a little bit here, Chat? Maybe it's a little bit of a contradiction to have a song about providing, and it's on a Playboi Carti album, Chat. But regardless, we can't. We're not the judge of anybody's situation. We're just focused on Kendrick buying nice diamonds for his lady, Chat, and icing out his lady with some nice necklaces. So, and the production as well on this too. Just there was actually, I was trying to find on who sampled this track, but I thought somebody had on the video for it on YouTube. Somebody had posted a comment, and it's recently as well too. Like, I think it was. When I looked at it, it was within the last hour. So it was literally like within the last couple of hours. Because again, I've been listening to this song a lot. I was listening to it, a couple minutes before we started recording as well too. I'm gonna act like I was listening to it an hour out. I was playing it right before we started. It is what it is. So that comment's probably 2 hours old if you guys listen to this live. But they finally were able to at least pin down the sample. And I didn't listen. We were listening right before I didn't have time to listen to the track, Chat, and see what the, pinpoint where in the track, and if it seemed like it was actually accurate, we got a little fact check our guy here real fast. But it's an incredible beat as well too. One of our favorite productions on the album. So we've been at least just absolutely just destroying the replay value out of that song, and I think at least maybe over the next couple of days we'll be able to take a break and play some other music finally, Chat. But those Playboi Carti numbers, where I think they said he had like the 7th biggest streaming debut of all, it's like top 10 biggest debut of all time, not even hip hop, Chat, just streaming album debut in general. I think a lot of that might be us playing these Kendrick features. It's just what it is. Again, I think that's the point of getting the features on the album, but also I think we're definitely playing these songs really heavily too, especially for how we typically are replaying these Playboi Carti songs. But again, it's just the writer's ability, whether in whatever topic is being addressed, is of course very important, and that can get kind of lost sometimes as well too, where you can look at the next generation and you can look at some of the content stuff and be like, oh, are we, like, are we is there bigger picture stuff going on here? Like, are we all just gonna talk about women and diamonds and necklaces and things like that? Like, but then it's like, hey, if you're rapping about it, well, Chad, guess what? It's gonna be catchy and I'm probably gonna be listening to it. Probably gonna listen to it, especially if you're rapping on it over a pretty nice beat. It's probably gonna be a song that's stuck in the rotation. It's just what it is. But the writing ability, just the writing ability of those lanes can get lost as well too. Where again, it doesn't matter what role you're playing on the basketball court. Again, if you're the Klay Thompson, if you're the Iguodala, if you're the Steph, like, you gotta be playing the role as good as possible. Not to say that, again, a guy addressing certain topics in a song would make his art or his music, an Iguodala, shout out to Iguodala, or like a Harrison Barnes, where now all of a sudden, it's like, oh, you're in the corner just making your own threes. But I feel like we're off in the weeds in this analogy, Chad, and it's barely making sense. But again, I just the quality of what Kendrick is having, and just his ability as just a writer in general. It doesn't matter kind of what topic. And again, that's Pete Kendrick glazing, but still, it's true, Chad. It is what it is. I don't know if we can search actually like in fact check like how many times Deglete has been dropped in a rap song, but maybe a song in general. Like, I had to actually like double check. Like, I feel like in the context of the lyrics, I'm pretty sure, like, and it's a fancy term. Like, I definitely feel like I've heard it in a movie at some point, but has Deglete ever been said in color? We might be the first people to ever be saying it in color as well too, because again, Kendrick and Playboi Carti are just dropping it on the mic, on the tracks. Like, there's no music video for that yet. I don't know if we're gonna get a Boss Backdoor music video. Yikes! But there's no visuals for them singing that song at this point. We need to go through and listen to the Playboi Carti Rolling Loud set, chat. We've just been juggling the album. Of course, we went and saw the ASAP Rocky Rolling Loud set. Crazy. Out of the helicopter, chat. It's like Bruce Wayne. A couple of Dark Knight references. Make no mistake, this is not going to be the last episode where we compare something to something that happens in a scene in the Dark Knight. But I think the only thing that ASAP Rocky was missing was like the 4 or 5 models that Bruce Wayne entered the party with in that one scene. But again, he was dangling from the helicopter, so maybe logistically would have been a little bit more difficult to try to pull off. But it's got to be one of the more impressive, just, I guess our history knowledge of like concert level stunts would only be like the couple of clips that we've seen on Instagram, but it's just got to be one of the crazier stunts that somebody's tried to pull in a concert as well too. Again, not to say that he was in super danger. I mean, there's always just the danger of what he's attempting. I'm sure they're attempting it in the fullest, safest capacities that they can. Whereas, again, if we're like doing the full ranking, there's one clip that I'm thinking of, and I forget who chat. See, this is where, again, I'm not a rock and roll guy. Is it Eddie? Oh, this is so embarrassing, chat. Is it Eddie Van Halen? Is that the right? Am I putting all the names together correctly? Is that the? Yeah. Now I got to figure out just which group is this in, chat? Oh no, this is not good. This is worse than any time we've forgotten. Because I feel like for, old players and old athletes, even if we're not knowledgeable on their games and what happened with them, like, we still know a lot of names. So if there's ever like an old athlete name that we don't know, it's usually like, a low-key guy, or just, maybe someone that we're forgetting. But I mean, Eddie Van Halen's got to be one of the greatest rock and rollers of all time, right? Are we going to log in and say that he's the greatest rock and roller of all time? The band was Van Halen. Okay. Chat, yikes. Sorry, I'll do my best. This is the moment where I've got it. The champ, he's been trying to get me into the... I think he said Iron Maiden's been heavy in his rotation this year, Chad. So shout out, I guess, just to expose the champ's music rotation like that. But Iron Maiden, I mean, what do you... I feel like for the rock scene, you're probably not going to go wrong with that. So I know, we can get into like a little Guns N' Roses every now and then. But again, this is like the basic of the, Appetite for Destruction. Is that a rock album, or is that like a pop album at this point? Like that, is that Stadium? Is that just college football? I think Appetite for Destruction is just a college football album at this point, more so than it is a rock album. It's a tailgate album. So, those type of crossover things we can definitely get into. Again, especially here, chat, in the Midwest, like, make no mistake, you go to a tailgate, you're listening to rock music and you're listening to country music. Like, That is what's going to be on. You got to steal the aux, or you got to be at a college party if you want to hear Kendrick and you want to hear Future. You know, if you want to hear the new Playboi Carti album, don't go to a college football tailgate in the Midwest. It's not going to be queued up on any speakers. I feel like, make no mistake, there's definitely sections of America that we would be much more in favor of the music that they're playing at these tailgates, but it's just not here, chat. And if you're gonna, we're just not to put the Midwest on blast, chat, but if you're getting hip hop at a tailgate, you're getting Eminem. It's just what it is. You're getting a little Lose Yourself. You're getting a little 8 Mile soundtrack. You're getting a little Not Afraid. It's just Eminem is gonna be in the rotation as well. But Eminem's got a lot of rock and roll inspiration as well. It's just all white music. That's just what it is. It's what it is. But you know, I think maybe Dr. Dre also crosses over because you get 50 Cent. 50 Cent. Everybody listens to 50 Cent. So you know, maybe you'll get a little 50 Cent every now and then too. But you know, again, the 50 Cent Eminem, the Eminem cosign chat Midwest is like, okay, I guess we'll throw him in the red. You know, he's a Midwest guy as well too. But we're just speaking from, again, the tailgates that we've been to. You go to a you know, you after the game, you're hanging out in somebody's apartment. You're hanging out at you know, even the right spot downtown. And I feel like most spots, you know, especially on the weekends, you know, especially for a college town, it's going to be pretty cued in on good music everywhere. But here it can be a little, in the, you know, non-college-y part of the state, it can be a little hit or miss with some of the music. You know, not to put our restaurant on blast, chat, but somebody's got to give me the aux cord at some point. Again, probably going to get kicked off. Going to be, oh, I thought that was a clean version. And then you realize, oh, clean version of these rap songs. Probably still a little aggressive with some of these lyrics. But I feel like we could put together a pretty nice, chill playlist, chat. It's, you know, some of this 90s stuff, again, like, you know, maybe we're not playing In the Club at the restaurant. Maybe at night. Maybe not the lunch shift. But who knows? If In the Club popped in on a lunch shift, like, who's going to be mad on their lunch break? Just 50 Cent pops on, go shawty, it's your birthday. Like, I mean, it's going to be the perfect pick-me-up in the middle of the day that you need, Chad. Just a little, you know, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent combo, a little get rich. I mean, that's what we're all doing in the middle of work anyways, right, Chad? Get rich, die trying. Maybe a little less of the get rich, maybe a little more of the die trying these days, Chad. But regardless, maybe 50 Cent can be the one thing that we can all share in common, you know, in the restaurant on these lunch breaks. But yeah, speaking of Eddie Van Halen, anyways, chat, I think it was Eddie Van Halen that had a clip of him, there again, some rock and roll guy, like climbing up on some scaffolding because his mic got tangled up. Am I remembering this clip correctly? He like threw his microphone up in the air and the cord got wrapped around up on top of the stage on that, you know, that stage, like, sort of scaffolding setup that can get set up. You know, I don't even know what to look up. I'm not a construction guy, but it's very climbable. If you saw it, you'd be like, oh yeah, you're climbing right up that jungle gym scaffolding that gets put up on these sound stages all over the place. And you know, he climbs up, dangles, and then I think he like slides down the mic cord. Like he's like, you know, a little Tarzan move. So maybe it's the Van Halen. Like Van Halen, we could definitely be casting this guy in a little Skarsgård right here, chat, right? Again, maybe you throw this kind of hairdo on anybody, there's going to be a lot of crossover in the look. That's a very distinct look. But similar sort of lean build. Van Halen looks like maybe same trainer as well, too. I don't know how old Skarsgård's trainer is. And R.I.P. Didn't mean to just zoom in on that, chat, but R.I.P. R.I.P. One of the legends of the rock and roll game, chat. Popularized tapping guitars and rapid arpeggios. Did we get that right? Playing allowed rapid arpeggios to be played with two hands on a fretboard. Van Halen was voted #1 in Guitar World magazine for 100. See, we should just. Oh, chat. I'm embarrassed. Are we even qualified to be on YouTube? I don't know. We didn't know Eddie Van Halen's name 100% correct. And I guess maybe if we got the technicality of the middle name in there, you know, how many people we could cross off the list as well. But still, chat. Rolling Stone ranked him 4th in 2023. Okay, so updated. He's slipping a little bit, chat. I don't know, is some new guys? Is there like a LeBron and a Steph Curry of the new era that we're not aware of? You know, who's the guitarist for the Bright Side song, chat? Like, I don't know. Who else is out there? Again, college football. It's the Michigan game. This is our rock and that's not really like a rock song as well too. That's kind of like a, again, if we're hearing it, it's probably crossed over. It's more like a poppy rock, type song. Poppy rock. I don't know what that is, Chad. But yeah, I know he had a crazy stunt. I think Michael Jackson fired like one of his managers just live on stage in the middle of a song once. So that, I mean, maybe not like a crazy physical stunt, but still a pretty wild thing to happen on stage. So anyways, ASAP Rocky on the helicopter at Rolling Loud. Very, very impressive. And definitely a fun set. And shout out to Brooklyn. Again, we were dismissing him earlier, chat, but Porzingis is back for the Celtics. It literally doesn't matter. Zaire Williams having a nice game. The Zaire Williams stock is, I don't know if stocks in general are rising right now, chat, but Zaire Williams is one to monitor. Brooklyn is 7 right now. Okay. Their pick is not in the trade protected thing here. So that might be a good sign. Yeah, Phoenix's unprotected pick. Wow, what a year to have Phoenix's unprotected pick, chat. Oh, did they trade that to Houston? Yeah, that's right. So, doesn't matter anyways. But would have been a good year to have it. What a year for the Rockets to have it. Would have been some nice. It's like half karma for, the Tatum Brown stuff. Is at least getting a lottery pick. Derek Queen for the Rockets out of Maryland. Shout out. But yeah, right now they've got him at the 6th pick. So Caparius. Oh, geez, Chad, this is a crazy last name. Jack Kukone? Whoa, I don't know if we're just projecting or we're definitely not reading that correctly. But it definitely looks like Jack Ucionis. It's just what it is. So I think it's maybe Jacques Chuonis. And I think, is it Valanciunas? Does he have a K in there somewhere? I don't know if he does, Chad. We got to help this guy out. When he gets to the U.S., he can't be going by Kasparis Jack Ucionis. That's crazy. Are we still even live on YouTube? We might have gotten taken down for saying that name. That's wild, Chad. But is this going to be the guy that turns around the Brooklyn franchise, Chad? That makes it worth all this stuff. But Zaire Williams, if they got into the top 4 and got one of those, I mean, anybody would, of course, love to have one of these guys. And I guess anybody jumping up is going to be a nice, a little bit of a better situation than the absolute bottom tier teams. But like I've said before, I think any of these teams, it's not terrible. It's not these just, and there's still, of course, worse ownership situations, and there's still bad ownership situations, and we're probably going to get, Baxter Holmes is doing work right now, chat. Make no mistake. In a couple months, we're getting a piece, and there's going to be another owner getting the flames. But in terms of in terms of, like we've said as well, the rosters that are in the league right now, there is not the same level of, and it's all comparative as well too. Like if your roster, if the Jazz's roster is better than the Jazz's, the worst team in the league in 05, it's like, well, okay, does that matter? They're still the worst team in the league now. Like, it does speak to the, the talent in the league. But it's like, okay, if they're still 12 games behind whatever, then, it's still disastrous regardless of, maybe Keyshawn George is better than that guy. But, Zaire Smith, nice little building block if they're able to keep him around in a long-term way. So, shout out to Brooklyn, keeping things feisty here with Boston. And there was something else, chat. What were we just talking about before this? What were we just saying? I forget. We were talking about Kendrick. We were talking about I don't know, college basketball. Something, chat. Something. Chat, I feel like we had another rant that was queued up on something, and then we got distracted by the Zaire Williams 7 points. It can happen, chat. Porzingis is cooking too, 14. I guess no Tatum or Brown, right? We didn't even check the starting lineups, chat. That's just how casually we were watching the games tonight. Not even looking at who's playing. Yeah, no Tatum or Brown. So now it's not even surprising at all. Makes of course, the slate for tonight a whole lot worse, but at least it makes the game more competitive. So, and tonight you see we got Milwaukee versus Golden State, and we got Cleveland versus the Clippers as well. So a couple of good matchups to make up for the fact that early slate might not be the best. And is Giannis playing? If Giannis plays, Giannis versus Steph is always just a fun cross, styles sort of matchup. Two just totally different superstars taking on facing off against each other in a matchup. And then Clippers as a feisty team against Cleveland as well too. That'll just be at least a fun matchup. But unfortunately, the Warriors lost. I guess Denver. We're okay with Denver as well. But unfortunately for our Steph Curry propaganda, they lost to the Nuggets the other night. And maybe it was a Steph rant that we were talking about, because Steph propaganda sounds familiar. I feel like I definitely had more Steph propaganda, chat. Make no mistake. I know we were ranting about how we would draft him over MJ in a pickup game on the last stream, and I still stand by it, chat. I still stand by it. But yeah, unfortunately, maybe some of his bigger picture award stuff. There's Giannis warming up. Okay, chat, just with tonight's vibes again, us not even checking the lineups. With tonight's vibes, Giannis taking a night off would be totally fitting. Just a nice night off for everybody in the NBA before we hit the March Madness stretch here. But nope, Giannis, he's playing. He's good to go. So it'll probably be Steph Curry that's out then. It'll be Giannis versus Jimmy Butler. Dame as well too. Shout out Dame Lillard, man. Yikes. You hate to see a guy that you just go, oh, Dame. It's like this guy, Dame, isn't Dame on the All-75 team? Like, regardless, Dame's one of the 100 great. It's kind of a jump from 75 to 100, but I feel like that 100 player still probably is he not capable of taking down Dame Lillard in a 1v1 contest? Like, who's the 100th best player in NBA history? I feel like he's still a pretty capable guy, but Dame is still good. That's the problem. The problem is Dame is still good, and you just hate to see seasons where guys are good and the production and some of the I don't maybe he's just not. And again, he's not that he's not good, but maybe he's not the player that I'm thinking that he still can be. But regardless, if he's not the all-star, all-NBA, and I'm not even saying he's that level of Dame Lillard that he was at the Trailblazers, but I guess could he still be a second? Like the version that we saw of Dame on the Blazers was obviously a guy that could be a second best player in a title team. I don't care if we could argue situations and what would have happened in different matchups, and you still got Golden State if he jumps over to another team. Like, would him and any other player been able? Like, Steph and Durant's just, we're talking about two of the 15 best players of all time. Like, would Dame have any other player in the league been able to take that combination down? But Dame Lillard's ability in Portland at the peak of his powers is the equal ability of any guy that we've seen be a number 2 guy on a title team. So I don't question that. But can he still? And again, not to say that he needs to be. So yeah, that level of Portland is obviously one, but like how many steps away from that level of Portland guy does he need to be to still be that number 2 guy? And I still think he is within that range, but he's obviously just not playing at that level right now. And maybe that ship is set. Maybe he's a third guy. I think at worst he's still a third guy, chat, and that's something. I know the contract is one thing, and their ability to go out and acquire a guy that could be their second best player is another thing as well too. But I guess he could still be a guy in a lineup on a finals team, like making major contributions, winning a finals, swinging playoff series. And again, with the way the shooting has been inconsistent, it happens when you're an old man, Chad. It's just what it is. But you get a little more inconsistent in your veteran years, and maybe that's the way it is for Dame. But if he's still able to give you those big performances, in a 7-game series, then Giannis is your main guy. Maybe you still have the recipe there for something. But against Golden State, we'll see. A couple of 4-6 seeds matched up against each other. And that was something I was seeing as well posted online too, was shout out to Hoops Empire, man. Call in. We've been trying to get Hoops Empire on the pod, but open a DM, buddy. But he's been posting about he did a post about what would the NBA look like if they had reseeded the playoffs and just throughout the conferences. Because we talk about, the NBA just getting rid of divisions in general. Like we don't really use them in the playoffs, so we just have the kind of the 2 conferences go up against each other, and what's really changed. But what if and maybe not even from scheduling standpoint. Like I guess at the end of the day, you could keep divisions and conferences around for a scheduling standpoint, but from the seeding standpoint, like what if you just went full extreme and just seeded the playoffs 1 through 16? So Cleveland would be the 1 seed in the entire league, or Gold or OKC, just depending on who had the best record. When the season finishes. Pause. But instead of being OKC playing the 8 seed in the winner of the play-in, maybe you still have the play-in, but they play the 16 seed overall. So let's see if we can get a live update on what that would be here real fast. So let's just assume that the 7 and 8 seeds win the play-in game, and it's still just a top 8 in the play. Because right now in the East, your play-in teams are Chicago and Miami. Like Miami could get in the play-in, and you got Sacramento and Dallas for the 9 and 10 in the West. So yeah, we could easily see the top 8 in each conference still continue to advance to the playoffs. But you would have, I guess, Cleveland with the best win percentage in the league at this point, just based on wins, 1 less loss versus OKC with 12 losses, Cleveland with 11. But Cleveland would be the 1 seed in the entire league, and then they would be matched up against, and they would still be playing in the East because the East is that kind of conference, chat, but they'd be matched up against Orlando as the 16 seed. Then you would have, instead of OKC playing the Clippers as the 8 seed, they would be the 2 seed in this bracket, and they would also be playing an East team because the Hawks, they also have 32 wins. So OKC would be playing the Hawks in the first round. And then you would have Boston matched up against either Detroit or maybe Boston versus the Clippers, chat? Boston versus the Clippers. Houston versus Detroit is kind of a really interesting first-round matchup. And Detroit-Milwaukee is a really interesting first-round matchup as well, too. But and maybe it's just looking at the playoffs. Again, we've had so many, of course, the entire NBA history of the playoffs that we've had with these conferences. And, a lot of similar teams, of course, with the way that they're geographically separated, with the way the leagues have been realigned at sometimes. Still, just we've had a lot of versions of the same playoff matches. Even for my lifetime, the league hasn't really realigned since I've been alive. So, I've only really seen this one version of the league. So just seeing like a fresh version of the playoffs and seeing like new first round matchups and new potential second round matchups. And again, with how talented the league is right now, how fun some of those matchups could be. Like, it was a really interesting thought experiment. But again, I don't know if it was the newness of it or if it actually looked like it could be a really effective and just really fun tournament style bracket. And again, you still do best of 7, like it's still kind of the same, maybe general playoffs, but just the variety of the seeding that you get. And like I was saying earlier, maybe you need the divisions and the conferences to maintain a semblance of a schedule and still go, hey, you play a couple, because again, it's the NBA's, and the NFL is as well too, but the NBA I think is a little bit more regional when they're split up, when they split up the divisions and the conferences. I mean, it's literally East and West versus at least, again, the NFL tries to keep it like this is a region, but there's always like one team that's just way off out of nowhere. And again, there's really I guess the divisions are like NFC East, West, North, South, but the conferences themselves, like American, National, like I was gonna say Northern, but National, like there's no directions in those titles for those conferences, chat. But it just seemed like it maybe provided a little bit more interesting team matchups as well too. Not just the newness of the franchises, but I don't know, something about the way that the actual rosters. And again, maybe it's just this year. It was the perfect time to post it. It looked like there was some good cross kind of matchups. But I wouldn't care. Like who cares, chat? Seed them however you want to seed them. But that'd be kind of fun. 1 through 16. Let everybody just play their own guys. We got some exchange of words. It's the NBA. They're not going to actually get into a fight. Nurkic, yeah. Dominic Barlow, shout out. Had a Spurs tenure in there. So the Spurs and the Hawks just trading players, whether it's in real life or on the waiver wire 2-way contracts. There's still a lot of crossover in the roster. Apparently he's not apparently Barlow not happy with the block. But I don't know, chat. Shout out our guy not Jokic, Nurkic. Not looking too foul-y there. Maybe got him in the lower body a little bit. Pause. Hey, yo. But, yeah, chat, we still have, on the last live stream that we did on Sunday, we went through the men's side of the bracket and made picks there. So now it's time to go through the women's side of the bracket, and also we got to relook at the men's side of the bracket because, of course, I've been thinking about it as well, too, over the last couple days. So, and look at this, chat. Sam is in the chat. Wait, how do I get a timestamp on here, chat? Can I see? Sam, holla if you're still in the chat, brother. Are you still over there? Hello, hello? Testing 1, 2, 3. We'll see if Sam's still in the chat. Maybe we get Sam on the call. Who knows? Is Sam going to give us some bracket picks? Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. There's only one way to find out. It's to stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Okay, chat, we're back, and we've got the women's bracket in front of us. We're about ready to get into some picks for that, but the Nets might have to put Maxwell Lewis back in because Derek White's going crazy right now. He's got 13 points in this quarter, and yeah, they could put him in for the defense, try to stop him, but they may need somebody to try to outscore him, chat. Maxwell Lewis? I think maybe that's what Cam Thomas is for. Who knows? We'll see what happens in the rest of this game, but it looks like the Boston semi-bench is out in front right now, up 3, and maybe on pace to end up taking this one. And again, with the way Brooklyn is looking in the draft, maybe they want to drop some of these games. But yeah, shout out to the ladies tournament here. We got the ladies bracket, and did we just go ahead and we put Don Staley in the Final Four, chat? Lock it in. UConn in the Final Four. I thought I saw something on the old TV today, chat, above the bars at work that I thought UConn. They said that UConn had the highest chance to win the tournament. I didn't see what the metric was. If it was, maybe it was even just like most people bet UConn to win the tournament. But there's some percentage of UConn winning the tournament, something, and it was the most won. And I was like, were they even a 1 seed? So not that a 2 seed can't be the favorite in a stats kind of way, but it's just like, okay, the stats weren't leaning toward one of the 1 seeds. Was kind of, and the stats leaning toward UConn in that kind of way. And of course, UConn, some storylines I think emerging out of that with the stats favoring them are they haven't been in the title game for a little bit. Let's see, chat. When is the just in case anybody didn't watch ESPN today at lunch as well too. This hypothetical restaurant chat where we're got 50 Cent on the speakers and ESPN on the TVs. But for UConn, I feel like the last title would have been, I mean, do we have to go back to like Breanna Stewart? Or have they won one in the 2020s, chat? Okay, 2015-16. So next year would be, so this year I guess would be 10 seasons, but, for calendar years, however you want to calculate it out. Undefeated that year, and I guess lost in the semifinals the next season, and that ended their winning streak. Because you see the one win, 38-1 this year, but would this have been over the 100-game win streak, chat, in this 13-15 run? And then I guess the 40-0 to 38-1 to 30-0 is probably not 100 games. But if they lost early in the season here, in 15-16, they definitely could have ripped off 100 in a row. Yeah, chat, did they lose the second game of the season? They lost it by 2 points to Stanford. Oh, man, that Gino probably thinks about that one every night, chat. Imagine. He could have had, and that's regular season as well, too. Playoffs, I'm sure that's a different type. He's not thinking about necessarily the undefeated season. He's thinking more about the national title part of it. But again, they won the finals in 14-15, so he's probably just thinking, man, I could have won 4 straight national titles and 3 straight undefeated seasons. Gino, call in. I'm going to add Gino, what do you think about more? Do you think about the 4 straight titles that you won or the 1 2-point loss to Stanford in that run? Because that would be nuts. And again, you lose a game where you just like, oh, we didn't show up, we didn't play. Like, it was a disastrous game. We lost by 20. Stanford was locked in. They wanted to, was it national title rematch maybe? Wanted to get the better of after losing that game. But to lose by 2 in a high-scoring game, top team, probably maybe they get revenge later in the year. Probably feels good, but that's a tough one, chat. Yikes. But what a run for our guy Gino at the peak of his powers. And still even, like, incredible coach, obviously. And back-to-back Final Four appearances as well, too. And the last time they were even the 1 seed was 2020-2021 as well. So I guess, would they have been a 1 seed in 1920? They might have been a 2 seed that year. Who knows? And a 2 seed the year before that as well, too. So, it's just a little bit of a different thing the last couple of years with UConn. But obviously Paige Beckers at the peak of her powers, returning to UConn for this exact reason, with a chance to solidify her name. And I don't know where this UConn roster ranks compared to some of the other rosters, and where her supporting cast would compare to some of those other supporting cast, chat. But you think about her potential legacy as well, too, where, again, with some of these, with these, or not some, but with all the college players on the women's side, where they have to stay for the 4 years to be eligible for the WNBA draft, they're just able to add to their college legacies as a byproduct of that in a way that the men aren't, where, of course, I'm sure there's, like the men, there's a guy that didn't have the college career and then ascended in the NBA in a different type of way. But with the fact that you just have to get the 4 years in, you get to establish your college. So it's like Paige Beckers has a college legacy at this point, regardless of what happens. But winning a national title obviously puts her in a different pantheon. And then, like we're saying, we go back, you look at these UConn runs. Like, these are impressive teams and impressive UConn legacy players to compare yourself. The Maya Moore and Breanna Stewart, who is a Taurasi Super. I'm just assuming every great WNBA player was at UConn back in the day, but I know it's not like an exact 100%. Grinders, Baylor, Candace Parker, Tennessee. There's a couple of exceptions to the rules, chat. We'll pretend like we know more than that. But again, with what she is on with the roster, I think it's still obviously a 2-seed roster. It's a crazy roster, chat. But I'm just curious, like, how does this compare? And if she's able to take this team to a national title with this roster. Oh, Rebecca Lobo, speaking of, UConn players. I think she was a national title UConn player as well, too. But where does that compare maybe to some of the other ones winning the multiple titles as well, too? And, like with Lobo's team, like, she was crazy in her runs, chat. Like, she's in that mix for, best UConn, best women's college basketball player, like however you want to phrase it. Because it's kind of I guess outside of Cheryl Miller, chat, and I'm sure there's a couple other names that, like wasn't Lisa Leslie like Texas Tech, maybe? Let me see here, chat. Wait a second. Oh, because I'm going Leslie first. It's going Leslie Lisa. USC. She was also USC. Who was Swoops? Somebody was Texas Tech. Maybe it was Cheryl Swoops. Yeah, Cheryl Swoops was Texas Tech. I remember that. Oh, I don't have the book out, chat. IT, go grab those books so we can get them in the studio. I've got the Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated had these series of books where it's just like the book of basketball, and they also have one that's the book of football. I'm guessing they probably have like a book of college, basketball, college football, basketball. The SI basketball book, chat. Oh, maybe they have a couple versions out as well too. I don't even know what year this was released. Actually, of course, I have all these books, chat. And I'm not a big reader, but these books are cool as well too, because it's not really, it is a book, but it is mainly pictures. And I think I haven't honestly opened this book in a hot minute, chat. We're just it's 2025, the 2020s. We just haven't been reading. So all pods these days. So we'll have to, like I said, get these books back out, but I think they're stowed away under the bed right now. But, yeah, this is the one I'm thinking of. There's a picture of, and flashback to a couple seconds ago, I was thinking there's a picture in that book of a college basketball player, women's college basketball player from Texas Tech, like driving to the rim, like iconic picture. Like, I'm sure if we looked up Cheryl Swoops Texas Tech, it would be the first thing that pops up. But I was thinking, I guess not, Chad, not the team photo headshots. It was an actual on the court of her playing. Okay, with her in Houston. And again, this shout out, what is this, Bing, chat? This Bing provider. It's another thing IT's got to do. Switch out this Bing provider for Chrome or something. Like, why are we getting, who is this? In the Cheryl Swoops voted greatest Texas Tech athlete of all time, which is crazy, chat, because they also have Pat Mahomes. And, again, Cheryl Swoops, national champion. Like, it's absolutely true. She is the greatest Texas Tech. Two-time All-Region, two-time All-American, Player of the Year. Like, Player of the Year alone kind of makes her a better career than Pat Mahomes, because Pat Mahomes has the stats where if it was the legacy stuff, just the stats compared to her stats in the WNBA or the WCBB versus Mahomes in college football. Like, obviously they're both putting him at president, and she was winning more games as well too. So just the success of her teams. Unfortunately Mahomes, not great teams that he had, and Texas Tech had better football teams as well too. With probably, I don't know if the Texas Tech fans are getting mad if like you basic football fan bringing up Pat Mahomes as the first Texas Tech athlete. Like Michael Crabtree, I can name another one. Michael Crabtree, another great Texas Tech athlete. Graham Harrell as well too, that combo from back in the day. But Texas Tech, Red Raider fans, are you guys actually on the legacy rankings putting Crabtree? Oh, maybe you guys are, because Crabtree had that game against Texas. I know Baker has, or Mahomes has the game against Baker versus Oklahoma, but Crabtree versus Texas just as an iconic, and I think Oklahoma ended up winning that game, so it's more of an iconic Mahomes game, an iconic fun game, than it is like an iconic, Texas Tech moment. Versus Crabtree has like a real like a real all-time college football highlight, all-time college football game. So maybe it goes Cheryl Swoops, then Crabtree, then Pat Mahomes. But do we put Pat Mahomes behind a Sarv Creamer? Like, I don't know, Chet. I don't know if we can do that. But obviously Cheryl Swoops is number one. But what's the iconic? Apparently the iconic photo is less iconic than. Oh, this is it, chat. Yeah. Right here. Shout out Cheryl Swoops. And just taking down Ohio State. You love to see that. So that's probably why this picture just subconsciously resonated. It was Cheryl Swoops in a win versus Ohio State. Hopefully I don't pull up that picture again and it's like Cheryl Swoops in a tournament loss drops 75 points. Because that's also a possibility as well too. But yeah, it was in this book. And this is again, it's pictures and did I say this earlier? Cutouts of articles of other stuff. So while it's still, and not that if it wasn't like a pieced together book in that way, it would be great, but you're also getting, just throughout the history, different time periods, different writers, different perspectives. So it's just there's a nice variety in the book where, a reader, a non-reader like me, where I don't know if this could necessarily be like, you couldn't do the SI basketball coffee table book as an audio book necessarily, but I mean you could do the articles. I guess you could do an audio compilation of the articles, but you wouldn't necessarily get the full effect of what the book is. And again, as a non-reader, like this is an effective way to try to at least pretend that you got some knowledge. And this one as well too, same sort of thing, but this is actual, like SI did an actual ranking, so maybe we should we get like a, do they have a Wikipedia page for this book, chat? They might. Oh, and it might be like a long pause typed out the whole thing. But do we need to do like a revisiting of this book whenever it was released? Like an anniversary of this book? Because they ranked all the positions in here. Pause. They did the top 10 point guards, shooting guards, power forward, center. And then they also did, as you see here, some other things. The coaches, the franchise, the slam dunks. They did like aspects of the game. So the rebounders, I think they did like defenders. Maybe they did do like 3-point shooters as well too at that time. So I don't even know if Steph Curry was like on the radar with this book. LeBron's in Miami. LeBron was not back, by all means not back in Cleveland. And I don't think the Spurs had even won the title. So I think this might have been like 2012 when I got my hands on it. Pause. So maybe the year before it was released. I don't know. We're gonna do a little research here, chat. Does Barnes & Noble's give us a release date? Yeah, I want to say maybe 2012, 2013. Because I think maybe he had the Thunder title. It might have been the year after the Thunder title. Oh. Barnes & Noble's doesn't even have the book. So we're not even going to get a release date. Just barely get the book. So as much as Barnes & Noble's considered, is that local bookstore? It's obviously a chain, but is that support local books in a way if we go to Barnes & Noble's, chat? I don't know. I think we'd probably just better off going straight to the local book. But, Life of Pat Riley? Do we need to get that one in the rotation? And see, Football's Greatest. We don't have the Football's Greatest. Revised and updated. $30. Amazon, IT. We throwing this in the cart? What year? So this would have been, probably the same, like 12, 13 range. Obviously, the Tyree catch as an all-time moment is going to be on there regardless of the year. But, whoa, chat. little intermission from the sports talk. The Rem and Sam pod, chat. Maybe we don't have ladies in the studio, but I guess we got ladies scrolling through the Amazon chat. It's just what it is. It's the early days of it's just our early attempt to be Howard Stern. But anyways, I guess with all due respect, we go back to the women's bracket check. We'll do a Howard Stern to the women's college basketball bracket pivot. I don't know how that works, but With all due respect to UConn, to Texas Cheryl Swoops, to whatever that tangent was. Yeah, I guess we got UConn advancing. We know the top seeds are going to be advancing here, chat. South Carolina, Don Staley. And what, like, kind of we were talking about with Dusty May, and to bring it back to some Michigan points. Like we were saying, we wouldn't trade Dusty May for any of the coaches, and that like Hurley is an established coach at this point. Shire's doing a great job over there. Like there are amazing other coaches that you could rank above Dusty May right now, but he's doing an amazing job in Michigan, and I want to see what the future has. And it seems like that's a pretty good stock to try to buy in, and it looks like Michigan bought in at the right time. But the women's side, as much with the 4 years they get established players and they have more established players, they also have more established coaches right now as well too. And like Dawn Staley and Gino, like these figures are just better coaches than what are coaching in the men's side right now. And again, the men have great coaches. It's just greater coaches on the women's side and more established coaches. And that is another thing with the NIL and with the transfer stuff as well too, is a guy like Janai Broom, he gets a couple years at Auburn because of and he gets a little householdy name type run where 2 years to 4 years, who knows if it's even saving college basketball from that kind of name value type way. But maybe the names get to stick around a little bit. But chat, we might be flipping a coin on some of these. Iowa versus Murray State. Okay. We'll give the hometown team one run. We can't let everybody show up to work just the next day, chat. Is this a Thursday or is this a Friday game? So, Saturday game. So yeah, out the weekend, just people bummed out that Iowa lost in the first round. At least would it be Saturday and then we show up to work Monday with Iowa playing? Like that could be, and then, would that make the restaurant less busy or more busy? I think we're less busy during game days, so maybe that works out in our favor, chat. But then again, less tips, who knows, chat? It's all, you're always contradicting yourself. You never want it to be busy, but, you need money, so it is what it is. But Florida Gulf Coast versus Oklahoma. I mean, Florida Gulf Coast didn't make the tournament on the men's side, but, and, the women's team is not the team that we fell in love with back in the day, but it's Florida Gulf. We fell in love with the University of Florida Gulf Coast in that run, not just the men's team. So any chance we get to pick Florida Gulf Coast is a chance that we will take. So shout out. And Hawkeyes, yikes, your Florida Gulf Coast matchup might not look good in our bracket, but OK State versus South Dakota State. Shout out our favorite podcast, All Fantasy Everything, Sean Jordan, one of the co-hosts from South Dakota. So hopefully from where he's at in South Dakota, the state part of that is not the rival, but I think he's pretty pro the state. I guess we're not, politics and all that. I don't know what he's pro and anti, but in terms of the name South Dakota, he's a guy. So in honor of our favorite podcaster, we'll pick South Dakota State to advance. Kentucky versus Liberty. Is that the same matchup in the men's in the first round? I think it might be. And did we pick Liberty for the upset? So we did 2 upsets in this bracket, chat. We might have to revisit that one. California versus Mississippi as the 8-9 is a bit of a thought provoker as well too. Ole Miss versus Ball State. David Letterman. We got to go David Letterman, chat. Baylor versus Grand Canyon. Florida State, George Mason, LSU. I know LSU doesn't have Angel Reese anymore, but Flau'jae Johnson, shout out. We were talking about Playboy Cardi earlier, and maybe Flau'jae Johnson has better lyrics than Playboy Cardi. Who knows? We'll get Flau'jae Johnson on some Playboy Cardi level production and see where her career goes. And her career is already on the rise as well too. And I think her ear for production, of course, is really great. Michigan State versus Harvard, chat. It's a battle if this was a battle of the books, well, who knows? We'd have to look up the scores and see where these institutions are at. But we know Michigan State's below Harvard, chat. So we're taking Harvard. Yikes. No shout out to the Spartans, but I guess since we just dissed them, shout out to the Spartans. NC State versus Vermont, Russillo, shout out. We're stealing the tails from the couch, bitch. So we're gonna the bit. What did I just say, chat? The tail from the couch bit. So we're picking Vermont over Harvard in that matchup. But Richmond versus Georgia Tech as well too. These 8-9 matchups are gonna be brutal to pick, chat. Chat! Look who decided to drop by. I don't know. Does he have some hot takes about Dawn Staley in South Carolina? We got to get our guy Sam in the chat. Let's see what's going on. Let's see if he's even if he's on right now. Is he warming up some food? We'll see if he's get him once he's on the call. Oh, chat. Our guy might be ready to go. Let's see here if we can get the right screen up. Testing 1 2 3. Oh, chat. IT disaster. Sorry for this. Sorry for the sloppy appearance. We were not cleaned up and ready to go. Are we here? Where's our camera at? There's Sam. But for some reason, my camera's not popping up. Let me see here. Oh, there we go. Okay, we can got this view. We're good to go. Are my earbuds working? My earbuds definitely do be broke quite a bit.
Are we good? Are you tapped in? Yeah. I'm getting levels on.
Oh, Sam, we can hear you. What's up?
Yo, what's up? How you doing?
Have you made a bracket? Have you made your picks yet? Kansas has a 7 seed. That's the lowest you guys have been in a minute.
Look. We're not gonna talk about Kansas. I am so out on Kansas. It is bad this year. It is one of the ugliest years. We're 6-6 going into the tournament. Like, we just need to get knocked out the round one and just put us out of
Sam said put me out of my misery.
Put me out of my misery. You know who I have been watching? I've been harping on this team.
St. John's?
All year long. Hey, St. Johnnies are up. Don't shout out to Kyle Crichton. You know, the Johnnies are up. You know, Rick Pitino making a return. You know, cream rises to the top. Duke, man. Duke. Is John Shire the next great coach?
You're saying John Shire over Dusty May?
I don't, you know, you had 1 year, man. 1 year. I'm telling you, John Shire, the way him bringing in a GM, the first ever GM, you know, we love representation, women of color, shout out. And, you know, for him to recognize the need to, like, take that load off of him to, you see, like, just the way he is, the way he's joking, he's a very, like, chill, like, you know, very intense guy, but you can see he knows how to have fun. He's a fun kind of guy. And, you know, of course, has that experience, plays 4 years, you know, under Coach K, like, won a national championship as a senior, with the, like, he was a legit player. He wasn't a bum, you know, had a single season record for minutes played. So, you know, has had a great career and is able to turn it into coaching, you know, and his first year, his first 3 years, he's been 27-9, 27-9, 31-3. You know, that's 80% for people who are doing math at home. Like, that's at Duke, following it up, Coach K, like, everyone knew it was him. And he's followed it up, 19-1 in the conference, you know, tied for third, second, and first this year. Those are 3 years of the conference standings. I don't know, Rem. I mean, you know, shout out to Dusty. Give him another couple of years, but 3 years in, John Shire looks like clearly the #1 guy to kind of carry the torch of great college men's basketball coaches.
I mean, especially like you're saying, the Duke recruiting class on top of that definitely puts him in that phase. And I guess that is part of college basketball as well, too, because I think, like, I'm really valuing the way that Dusty May, if we were going, like, coaching job over, like, an EPA stat for coaches, like, there maybe is a case that Dusty May would have, like, a higher coaching EPA than John Shire.
All right.
Because again, like, John Shire's roster is so talented, but that's part of the college it's not a professional thing where the GM is drafting the roster for you. Like, I mean, you have your recruiters, but John Shire is obviously more hands-on in building the team, and he is still, like you're saying, building. He's not just taking the torch from Coach K and the success. Like, he is still getting the recruits, and he's keeping the name of Duke alive. And Cooper Flagg was a generational guy, and if Cooper Flagg had been in the recruiting cycle for Coach K, there's just no way that Coach K with the Team USA, especially like Cooper Flagg in a Team USA camp, and Coach K at the peak of his powers in Team USA camp, in Cooper Flagg's ear, and then, you know, like Simmons has talked about doing the whole phone bit with Colin LeBron and all these top players. Like, there's just no way that Coach K is not going to get Cooper Flagg. So John Shire has been able to take that torch as well, too. And, I mean, Michigan's never been a recruiting team, like, on Duke's level. But I think that's why Duke is just a premier program. And how long
Yeah,
has
and you can see it with
Duke been around for?
Alabama, and I mean, you see it with Alabama and Kalen DeBoer, like it's not that easy just
Yeah,
to follow
yeah,
up.
yeah.
You know,
That's a
it's
great
not
point.
just
That's a
like
great
you wake
example.
up and it's the same thing. Like, and mind you, we're giving Kalen 1 year, so let's give it a little. But it's not the coaches matter in college more than any other level, it feels like, and it's a whole circuit, it's a whole kind of thing, which is kind of funny that you bring up Don Staley and South Carolina, because of them. I know you're working through the bracket. We can finish that bracket, but I guess them complaining about not being the number one overall seed
And
in a
USC
season
was
where they're
complaining
not
about that too.
undefeated. Yeah, and it's like you're neither of y'all. I mean, was USC undefeated? I know SC wasn't. They got beaten pretty bad. I think it was like, and they did come back to beat them, but not by as much. I think like they lost by like 30 plus, and then they beat that same team by 20 plus um in the bracket. But I mean, does number one overall seed really even matter? Like, I mean, what are we doing here? Like, I don't. It's not like we have a Florida State situation where you're undefeated. Like, yeah, USC lost 3 games this year. The other team lost several. Like, they just decided that someone else's losses weren't as bad as y'all's. Like, I don't
Well, but
see
you
the
got to get that
craziness here,
motivation
especially
though,
when there's
right?
other number one
You got to
overseas.
get that motivation. And if you're a one
I
seed, like
guess.
there's not really much else to point to other than the fact that like you've got to find the one team that the committee thought was better than you and be like, well, I guess we got to prove that we're better than somebody, so we'll prove that we're better than that team. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, being like you got to just get that number one seed, and I get like it's a neutral court tournament, so it's not like you get
Exactly.
home field in a tournament. If you get the number one seed, it obviously matters in some of the earlier rounds. Maybe hypothetically your path is easier, but yeah, at the end of the day, they're just they're making up their own motivation.
And I mean, I get it. Like, at least for USC, this is a team in their own conference. They have more wins than them, than like South Carolina, where it's like a little bit more of a red area, wondering like what is going on. But I mean, UCLA did beat them in the Big Ten tournament, even though they lost to them earlier in the year. And I don't know. I think we're just arguing about little details that don't really matter. But I don't want to hold you up. We got to support the women's game too. So yeah, let's finish your bracket here. I'll see if I can
Have you
see
even
it
worked on a
on
bracket
the
yourself yet?
stream. I got the men's bracket. I did. I don't know if I finished it even. Let me see.
Yeah, mine's
I
still a
don't think
work
I
in
finished
progress
it.
as well. But uh,
But don't we have like only a couple of days left?
yeah, the games officially start.
Yeah,
The
first four started. Yeah.
main games start Thursday, but yeah, the first four is going today. So if anybody's debating that 116 matchup, if you're waiting to see who that 16 seed is, I think we got the first results in anyways by now.
Do those matter to you? I guess like the
The
11. I
11
kind of
one
feel
does.
bad for the 11. I feel bad for the 11. So like, do you want to play worse, to be a lower seed? Or I never quite understood how those happen. Like, are the lower seeds like automatic bids or?
Well, I think what I've never like actually read an article on this or heard this explained, but I
Yeah.
think the general theory of the way they seed the tournament is like I'm just gonna throw the numbers out generally. I don't know if these are accurate, but like the seeds above the 11 seeds are some of the mid-major schools, and then the seeds below the 11 seeds are the higher major schools. So that's why the 5 versus 12 can be like a weird matchup where the 12 seed is like a better mid-major school and the 5 seed is a worse power 5 school sometimes, if
Mm,
that makes sense. But like you'll see the 12 seed record and it's like 30 and whatever and they're just like a way better team. So like the
yeah.
11 seed play-in game is like a play-in game for the lower end main schools, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
okay.
I think that's how it plays out. And then the 16 seeds, that's why you never see like a low seed school jump up to like a 4 seed. Like
Yeah,
sometimes you do.
exactly.
Like if Wichita State establishes themselves as a school, then you see it, but you never see. It's in college football too. You never see James Madison make a 4-team college football play. Like you don't see a high
Yeah.
level seed like that be like a 3 or a 4 seed unless they're a real team in a real way. But that's why like UNC's on the border of making the tournament, but they'll be like a
Mm,
higher seed than maybe a mid major school that qualified or whatever.
yeah.
but
No,
that's me.
I'm just looking through my list right now, trying to finishing my bracket. I don't know. I might have Michigan going to the Final Four.
Whoa, in
Should
the
I do
men's?
Michigan or Ohio State or Iowa State?
See, speaking of the 512s, I was looking at that 12 team that we were playing against, and make no mistake, your boy's scared.
Yeah.
Your boy's a little worried.
UCC. I think you guys could probably beat Yale. I think the toughest
I
test
agree. I
is
think we could actually
I might
do
I
pretty
might
good
have
after that team.
yeah. I think Creighton coming out of the top. I don't trust Auburn. So I have Creighton beating
Louisville
them.
was like a top 15 team in the AP, and somehow they're an 8 seed. So I didn't
Yeah.
watch college basketball. I don't know why
And,
necessarily that
and
played out, but
they gave him such a horrible matchup in Creighton because Creighton's always dangerous. Like every year they're like one of those mid majors that you're like, oh snap. Like this could really end up bad.
they're a little bit of a 3-point shooting team this year. I've seen them against St. John's. So if they catch fire, they could be dangerous. But I kind of sneaky see. I was gonna do this a little bit later after I fill out the women's bracket, but I filled out the bracket on Sunday the way I wanted to fill it out, and then I was thinking
Mm,
about it, and I realized the bracket never goes the way I want it to go. So I was gonna go back and
exactly.
fill it out like the opposite way. So like I really like Auburn,
Mm.
I really like Janai Broom, and I really want him to make
You
the Final
like
Four.
Auburn.
I like Janai Broom. Janai Broom is one of my guys. Reverend Sam watch
The
list guy.
problem is you can't go after the college or the NBA guys. You can't trust them, like because we had this last year. I'm trying to
Is Janai Broom an
remember,
NBA
or the
guy?
year before. Was it?
I don't think he's an NBA guy.
Yeah, they're having him like as a top pick,
Well,
Janai
that's
Broome.
because he's become that though, just because he's so like, he's an older college guy, been in the system. I don't think he's really
Player of
been
the
a
year.
first round pick
Yeah,
up until this year.
yeah.
He wouldn't have been a lottery pick last year just
That's
because of
fair.
his
That's
age.
true. I just gotta, there's gonna be a couple zags in there, and if there's a one seed I really believe is knocked out,
Yeah, here, let me pull the men's bracket back up.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe actually I don't trust any of these one seeds like Houston,
See, and Duke, as much as I
Florida,
look at this
or
Duke
Auburn.
team, like I just went back and looked at their losses while you were talking about them earlier. They've lost 3 games by a combined 12 points. So they've not only played like the highest level of basketball, they're playing even in these, they're just getting like outplayed in a magnificent way in these great games. But
Yeah.
even Duke feels like a team that just the last couple of years I've picked to go deep in the tournament. Pause, and they just get upset early on and just disappoint everybody. So I feel like if I pick
Okay,
them to
but did they
go
have
far this
Cooper
year,
Flag early on?
that's the thing is Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis. The one year I don't pick Duke to advance all the way, it's Cooper Flag's gonna have an Anthony Davis level run. So I'm overthinking it, but Duke is
Come
making me
on,
nervous.
Malawach, Knuppel, man, Con Knuppel, Proctor showing up in the championship game. I'm telling you, I'm so in on Duke. It's bad. It's bad.
So
It's
maybe
almost like I'm a
Duke beats
fan of.
Baylor in
Yeah.
the second round is what you're saying?
I'm saying Duke is winning the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I had
They're winning
originally
the
because I
whole.
just had your voice in the back of my mind going Cooper Flag, Cooper Flag, Cooper Flag. But I'm scarred. I'm scarred. I pick
He's a
Duke to win it every
dog.
year.
He's a dog. He's a dog. They haven't had a Cooper Flag since like Zion, and even then, like
And is Proctor
and that
better than
team,
RJ
I
Barrett?
don't. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. No, for me it's Knuppel, it's Cooper Flag, and it's
No,
Malawach.
I think
And
Proctor
it's
might
just
be. No, and the center too.
it's
You're right. The center gives them that
yeah,
front court
7-2,
versatility.
man. He's huge. He's huge. I just think their defensive presence is so big, and they have the balance of like if Knuppel doesn't have it, maybe Proctor does. If he does it, like go to Flag, and then if they start double teaming Flag, that's gonna give open threes like James as well, like one of their backup guys. And it's like it's just they have so much on their team, and they like you said it, they play the highest level of basketball. Like when you watch night to night, like who is, and of course, maybe I need to go back and watch the other number one seeds. But when you go one through eight, like who would you rather have? Like how many? It's always funny. Like that's something that's happening now with the MVP conversation with like OKC versus Denver. Is like how many Denver players would you have start on OKC? Like who would you have in their rotation? And you
Mm.
look at these number one seeds, and like how many of those players would you actually have play on Duke, like in their starting
Look at Duke
rotation?
first in defensive rating and fourth in defensive rating, first in offensive rating. They're top 5 in both.
Uh,
That's like an NBA
it's
thing. You
tough.
don't hear about that in college.
It's tough, man. I'm telling you, it's not looking good. So I'll pick. I'll pick Michigan to go to the Elite Eight, but I'm gonna have Iowa State. Um, I'm just going where my heart leads me. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't watched too much basketball this year,
No,
but
the chat knows that we're not informed college basketball fans. I mean, you can
yeah,
check the
you gotta
tapes.
know.
We're literally on
I'm
here.
gonna have the Johnnies in the championship game taking on Duke. When
Yeah.
it's
Oh, you got St. John's?
St. John's, man.
See,
The
again, I'm rooting for St.
Johnnies.
John's, so I'm just assuming they're going to get
I,
eliminated early.
the tiebreaker is like 78-73. Here we go. Bracket finish. There we go.
So Duke, so I'll just go ahead and just send Duke straight to the Final Four then. If
At least they're getting out of their place. Because, like, does Alabama really have the
I like
talent?
Bama
Let
though.
me see.
I like Sears.
You can't like everyone, man.
That's why I have them losing to Wisconsin because
Yeah, Sears, yeah, but like, and they have a lot of scoring, but you know,
Grant Nelson, maybe Cooper Flag Light has like a chip on his shoulder game against Cooper Flag where
I
he's
don't
like, you
know.
guys are talking
They
about
don't
Cooper
know how to
Flag
hit
this
their
way.
free throws. 71%.
Yeah, that's not.
And also, they got to go up against Robert Morris, one of the better 15 seeds. I
Yeah, it's
just
true.
made that
Robert
up.
Morris.
And then they got to go up against St. Mary's. That's usually a tough test. And then I have BYU coming out of that other bunch, but maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't trust Wisconsin. I'm Montana upsetting them. You got to have a couple upsets here.
And sometimes with the teams that like win the conference championships, like Duke, like you get worried about them making the the run into the tournament, where it's like, well, they have to make the run in the conference tournament, then the run in the NCAA tournament, but they didn't have Cooper Flag for the end of the ACC tournament.
Exactly.
So
that was the crazy part.
You kind of get a weird reset where Cooper Flag now wasn't in that. So it's not like Cooper Flag's going to be like burnt out or due for a bad game because he's played so many games in a row if he's, healthy in a decent way. So that can make me more confident in it as well too. Because again, it's just the teams that win the conference tournaments I get nervous in. It's just such a long stretch of basketball you have to play. You have to win so many games in a row.
And I love that decision, another great decision by Shire, because, if you lose, like, what the heck? Like, no one cares you're going to be a good seed. Like, you only get really one more, obviously one more loss on your record. But if you win, you give these role players so much confidence that they know they can go out and win against, some of the better teams in the nation. Like, the ACC wasn't super great, but it's not bum. Like, it's still a Power 5 conference. And to give these guys that experience that, hey, like, Cooper Flag may not be there to always save the day. And Cooper Flag's never been that kind of player. Like, he's definitely been more of like a Paolo in this system. I'd say, he's definitely had more ball handling, more passing. He's definitely a way better shooter than Paolo was beyond the arc in college. But it's definitely having him out of there and having that development between Khan and Kaman Malaj. Having that development, having Proctor show up in big moments, having James have more minutes, like just giving the team generally more confidence going into the tournament when big shots are going to be asked of them. There's no way Flag's going to always be the guy. On top of already having Flag covering Coop, it definitely made me, it's one of those blessings in disguise. I know you don't want to bring it up, but similar to hearing the interview with Will Howard, hearing the loss of Michigan, of Ohio State to Michigan, it set them on fire in the same way with Duke.
Yeah, unfortunately, are you talking about the Will Howard interview with Russillo?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was really good in that interview, and I was like, man, I'm just buying in on Will Howard as an NFL guy. Like,
what would you do if the Colts took him?
I kind of like the pick, honestly. I kind of think he'd be starting.
It's better than Danny Dimes, I'll tell you that. Jeez.
That's right. I forgot about Danny Dimes.
Oh God. I just blocked that out of my memory.
Yeah, I literally did. I forgot. 1 year, $14 million. Oh man. Let me just get back to this bracket real fast.
Yeah, let's keep
not focus on the
here.
important
We gotta finish
things.
the women's bracket.
Oh yeah, here. Let me go back to that real fast. I had the men's pulled up. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. There's gonna be a lot of coin flip level picks here. I don't know.
What? You haven't been locked into Ball State basketball?
I mean, a couple of games. The highlights?
Shout out.
No, I wish. Tennessee, I feel like they got to advance.
Yeah.
Ohio State getting upset in the first round. Lock it in.
That's crazy.
Montana State's going all the way.
Shout
Louisville,
out.
Nebraska. I know Nebraska's always a powerhouse in
Mm,
volleyball. Does that translate to
I
women's
know.
basketball?
They
Oh,
are
and
indeed.
TCU has Haley Van Lith, so they're advancing.
They do. I would say up a million on TCU. They're gonna go far. I don't think they have enough to win it because it is a lot from
Oh,
Haley
so if
Van
we
Lith.
advance Louisville in this game against Nebraska, that would set up Haley Van Lith against Louisville in the
That's
second
crazy.
round, her old
That yeah,
team.
I love that. I love that. That sounds like sports.
Yeah, I
That
think
sounds like
sounds like the
sports.
committee might have did that on purpose, honestly.
Well, yeah.
I see some
They
shenanigans
they're
here.
trying to get it. Quick moment on Haley. Like I'm really happy for her because I feel like she got so much slack in that LSU like loss, and then
Well,
jumping from
I mean,
team to team. Like, I really, I appreciate it like when you're like, oh, like the person who's super talented and was on like Team USA with Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers and like she's kind of good. Like,
yeah.
what? Like, and it's just nice to see like, when someone gets all this hate, all this flack, and they're like, all right, takes a bet on themselves and it works out. And I'm glad to see that for Haley.
Yeah, and she did need to redeem herself as well too because she had a lot of hype, not just off the court hype, but as it was, she had WNBA draft hype as well too, and it felt like that took a little bit of a hit with some of the way the March Madness stuff went. But yeah, she's obviously fully back and a great, and it's even almost better for her here now as well too, because again, we haven't really watched these teams, but I'm assuming, I guess we can look it up here real quick, but I'm assuming she's the best player on this team, right? I mean,
Yeah, I don't think it's close. I don't.
she's definitely the most notable, and with her experience, she's
Yeah, she
definitely.
had 20 points in the
They're
final
31-3 right
Big
now.
12 championship. Yeah, 31 and 3. Yeah, they won the Big 12 championship, and I think they won the regular season too.
See, they do also have a forward on here, Sedona Prince, who is
Yeah.
17.5 a game. So Van Lith 17.9. She is 17.5 and 58% for the field. So you got a little bit of a two-person combination there with TCU
Yeah,
as
I'm
well.
not saying like she was the only one carrying that team.
No,
Like
I'm
I
just
think
saying if
there's
they're going to make a
definitely.
run here.
Yeah, they're
And
gonna need
if
both.
Haley Van Lith is like really going to lead the, because I guess what my point was going to be like is if she does make a successful run with LSU, that's impressive with her as a point guard. But she is still not the best player on the team. She's the best player on the team now. So if she makes a run here, not only has she
Yeah.
redeemed herself, she's redeemed herself in a more impressive way as like a best player on the team type, like leading the team. So
And I mean, I think like, has been mentioned so many times with women's basketball is that it is nice to see like college people stay 4 years. Like,
yep.
imagine Cooper Flag as a senior at Duke. Like, like,
I'm not
like,
gonna lie, that's a long.
I-
That is a long time. 4 years, maybe two and a half.
like, imagine Zion coming back to Duke. Like, imagine like if Wemby, was like, oh yeah, I gotta play college years. I don't know.
At least two
Just
years.
it's insane. It's insane to imagine like the most talented players staying for 4 years. And it's why college basketball used to thrive so much. And it's why women's is up right now, is because the talent's insane. And you see it with USC, especially with Juju Watkins. I
Yeah.
think is an excellent example of like, oh, like you're on the path to be like the greatest Trojan ever. Like, you know.
Well, I mean, you still got Cheryl Miller out there. Just
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely like you're on the path. Like it's, she's not
I
quite
mean, I get what you're
there,
saying. She's on the path, but
but
that's still a crazy path. Like
yeah,
I don't
it's
know
not easy. It's not
anybody's
easy.
necessarily
She's
on the
gonna have to.
path, but if anybody is on the path,
What
she's on the
is
path.
isn't her pace like faster
What for
than
points?
Cheryl? Yeah, I think it's
Well,
like
but what
most.
what are we talking about? Like, do we need to call an expert on the pod? Like, what's the era stuff with Cheryl Miller? I mean, and we know the
Oh
peak Cheryl
gosh.
Miller
Oh
performances.
gosh.
Like, she was putting up some of those Wilt numbers in high school, right? Like 100-point games.
Yeah, I mean, she's gonna have to. Uh, I mean, Juju's gonna have to bring a championship or two or
And
something.
plus, if we're
Yeah.
talking Trojans as well too, like we've also got like the great USC football teams. A lot of Mark
Yeah, it's
Saban.
not like only a Trojan, but I mean, you gotta think about like what she's doing as a freshman though,
No,
like
but yeah, you're right. If she
on her
stacks the
own.
4 years together, then
Like,
the total
yeah,
resume,
that'd be insane.
especially if she's able to get a national championship on top of it. But uh,
But do you want to spoil the lead though? I mean, who are you picking to win this whole thing
for the
for the
women's,
women's side? Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I mean, it's probably going to be like one of the top teams. I don't really know yet. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean,
have
I
seen. I
guess
think they do. They have seen them have like 4 number 1 seeds in the
if it's not
final
going to
four.
be
I think.
Michigan, Michigan is a 6 seed this year. So,
All
I mean,
right.
I'm sure we're a very competitive 6 seed. But if it's not going to be Michigan winning the national title, I mean, I got to, like, we were just talking about, I got to be honest. Like, Juju Watkins, I kind of would like to see Juju Watkins in the national title. Oh, well, you know what?
Yeah,
Also, Paige Beckers, though, because Paige Beckers is that
it is their last year, right?
it's her last year. Juju Watkins does have a couple of years, so you don't want to just assume that Juju Watkins is going to get back in a top spot. But then again, we assume that Juju Watkins alone, her performance is going to have these teams in the mix. But her having the team around her to make the run. So you know what? Maybe because Paige Beckers is her last year,
We
maybe.
gotta give her
But
one.
then UConn, Geno's has so many titles. Like, can we get USC a title in here?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it
Are you
is
going
crazy to
UCLA?
think about. Like the crazy high standard for UConn is insane. Like it's just like winning a championship like 3 out of 4 years or something.
Yeah, they haven't won since 2015 though.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's been a little bit of a drought. Geno, is he
Wow,
in
you can
danger?
make a winner based on the team mascots is crazy. Auto
But
pick.
other than the top player, Don Staley, like again, any of these top players, it's not going to
Yeah.
be upsetting. I guess. Do you still
All right, I'll
is
make a bracket.
Kim Mulkey still coaching LSU? Like, never going to be upset if they win a
Is she
title.
really?
I
That's
don't know.
hilarious.
Is she?
Yeah, shout out Iowa, still in the mix.
I assume. Indiana over Utah. That feels like a game Indiana would win.
I think Kim. I thought she retired. Wow.
Did she retire?
Maybe
That's
that
not.
was just. Maybe that was just the Iowa
No,
coach.
I thought there must be a reason that I'm questioning it. Okay, no, yeah, she's still coaching. She's still around.
Yeah, she's still coaching, man.
Shout out. So yeah, LSU is gonna be feisty as well too.
Yeah.
Alabama over Green Bay. Shout out Green Bay, but we'll take Bama. Maryland versus Norfolk State. I feel like some of the mid majors. I feel like the talent gap is maybe a little wider in
Yeah,
the
maybe a
women's
little bit.
side.
Maybe a little
So
bit.
I don't know if some of these upsets are necessarily in the same sort of way that they would be in the men's. But then again, you don't want to just pick all the top seeds. But Vandy versus Oregon. Did we pick Duke? Oh, Duke's gonna. Oh, the Lehigh. Remember, Lehigh did take down Duke in the men's side. The C.J. McCollum team
Mm,
took down the. I forget who was on the Duke team. Was that Seth Curry
yeah.
maybe? So could that happen in the women's side? Let's give it to Lehigh.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's do it.
Wait, are
Let's
you
book
making
it.
picks right now?
Yeah, I'm kind of picking picks. I don't know. I got, my main upset that I
Yeah,
had
any upsets that you're
was
feeling?
Ball State over Ole Miss just
Okay,
because
I
we
have Ball
picked
State too.
it.
So chat, get on the Ball State money line.
Let's go. Ball State Ballers. Let's
Cardinals.
see Oregon over Vandy. I think we'll go Oregon over Vandy.
Okay.
Man, Duke women's are great. Shout out.
Do they
But
have a?
Texas. Um,
I don't know what
no way.
female Cooper flag would look like, but
Yeah. Let's
get
go
it.
South Florida over Tennessee. 5-12 is usually a
Oh,
good upset. I think 5-12 or 6-11 is usually the sweet spot for me.
Tennessee's such a legacy school, though.
Yeah, that's the point, is that I don't know, legacy kids. They're not trying as hard. I don't know. I'm coming up with
You think that
nonsense.
translates to college basketball?
They literally have information in there too. It's
That's what
so
happens when you
hilarious.
don't know anything, though. You just have to start making these picks on things you make up.
Exactly.
You just start going, as Tennessee, are they not as
So
motivated
it
as
looks like
South
Tennessee
Florida?
has a horrible defense.
That
While,
doesn't sound like Tennessee. Okay. I can see it.
South Florida makes games grindy. They go 60
Oh, you
points
might be
only.
onto something.
So, they might, and they have, they've won 12 of their last 14 games. So they're
Whoa.
hot. They're hot. They're hot.
So we're taking South Florida over Tennessee?
They're taking South Florida over
So
Tennessee.
it's
Yeah,
going to be
the
South
7-10,
Florida versus
I don't
Montana
know. I'm
State?
also, hmm, interesting. Let's see here.
So I'm picking Montana State.
Maybe I'm picking Nebraska over Louisville too. They only lost in the quarterfinals to UCLA.
Oh, you're not going to take the Van Lith rematch?
I don't know.
Vote on
I
the
think
stories.
not having her, it's gonna hurt them. They're gonna. Let's see here. Do I take them?
I mean,
All right,
honestly,
all
my
right.
gut tells me to take Nebraska too, but I'm just gonna vote for the storyline.
Yeah, I'm going to Nebraska. And then TCU. 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 I mean, TCU go pretty far.
Okay, so Sam's crushing on Haley Van Lith. That's why he's talking really quietly.
Up, 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 up.
Sam's like, oh, I'm
Get
taking
out of
TCU.
here. Get out of here.
Wait, does Sam hate your
USC. I'm
bets in?
having
Okay, okay.
USC go to the Final Four. It's funny when you like kind of know who you're just gonna pick. So you're like, I'm gonna have USC UCLA meet up again in the Final Four because it's destined to happen. I just feel it. Let's see here. LSU versus Florida State. Who should we go with?
LSU versus. Wait, where's Florida State at?
Florida State is up top, right? I don't know. What, up top
I
left?
missed them.
They're the 6th seed.
Oh, 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 oh. Here they are against George Mason. Oh, George Mason, an interesting 11 seed.
Mm,
They also got an upset in the men's. I think George Mason made the Final Four as an
yeah.
11 seed once as the men.
I wanted to pick Florida State, but they're going into the conference with back-to-back losses.
Who,
So,
Florida
but
State?
maybe that means they're more locked in. Yeah, I don't know.
No, give me
Beat
George
LSU.
Mason.
You're going George Mason. Wow. Okay.
I feel like I'm picking a lot of upsets, honestly. Maybe too many.
Yeah. Well, might as well. I'm going. I don't know.
I've got a lot of double digit
Okay,
seeds
let's see.
advancing. Maybe a third of them.
Jeez. I have Harvard beating Michigan State. I know that make you happy.
Yeah, that's the same.
Now I gotta pick if Harvard can keep going.
Shout out, no Yale for the women's side, just Harvard this year. Richmond versus Georgia
NC
Tech.
State was.
Wait, where's NC State?
NC State's the 2nd seed, and where's the? They don't say East West, whatever.
There they are. Yeah, they're gonna take. Oh no, they're
Right.
Vermont.
You think Vermont's got it? The Hilltoppers.
Shout out Rosillo.
Shout out.
We're taking the Hilltoppers, and they're gonna take down Harvard too. Vermont to the Sweet 16.
What?
We're gonna put Rosillo to the test. Will Rosillo
I'm gonna have
mention
LSU
Vermont? Will Rosillo mention
lose
the
to
Vermont women?
UCLA in the Elite Eight. I'm not. That's crazy. That's crazy. I just love how like a paragraph is gonna decide my pick here.
That's usually what happens. It's like fantasy football. You just, well, I guess I'll just at the end of the day read the write up on the guy and make my decision. I don't know. Maybe it's just the ESPN
Wow.
economy of it.
Kansas State lost 4 of their last 6 games. I guess Kentucky's gonna. I just don't like teams that are losing going into it. Go Hawks. Should I pick the Hawks?
I'm taking Florida Gulf Coast again. Another double digit. So I've got 14. I got a 14 and a 15 seed in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, that's wild. That's crazy.
You
I'm
don't
gonna
believe
pick
in
the Hawks.
Hilltoppers?
And Paige Bucher is gonna knock out Iowa. I feel like.
Oh, as the 2 seed eventually. Yeah, that'd be tough. They're gonna go. Iowa would have to beat Paige Beckers and Juju Watkins to get to the Final Four.
That's crazy. Paige Beckers and Juju.
Literally, how are the 2 best players in college basketball in the same bracket?
Yeah, that's crazy. That'd be crazy. I'm gonna do my dream Elite Eight and have Juju against Paige.
Whoa.
That's what people want to see. Now, so far I got the big time Elite Eights: UCLA against LSU, and then USC against UConn.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way I'm not taking UConn versus USC. There's no way we're not picking that matchup to happen. Which means, I mean, everybody's picking this, so somebody's gonna get upset. Maybe USC versus Kentucky, or Cal. A little former sort of they know the team, familiar.
Do you believe in quadrant wins, like quadrant 1 or whatever?
I mean, you know, if you're winning against good teams, that matters for sure.
Okay. Well, they have Maryland beat Alabama.
Does Maryland have a lot of quad 1 wins?
Yeah, they have the most in the nation.
Maryland does?
Oh, Maryland, yeah.
Okay. So keep an eye on Maryland as the 4 seed.
Yeah.
Maryland's tournament tested. Maybe Maryland takes down South Carolina. Maybe that's the upset.
Or they have the 6th most in this seed. They have 8. They have the 6th most.
Oh, they have the 6th most?
I don't know. Yeah, but I have USC still beating them. Or not USC, South Carolina. Let's see here.
Do I put a third double-digit seed in the Sweet 16? Do we go Ball State over Baylor? No, I think Baylor's pretty locked in. Baylor's a legacy school. That would make a lot of sense in the Sweet 16.
North Carolina talking about too much balance. Have West Virginia beating them. Like they don't have a player that stands out. That means you don't have anyone great.
Hey, a balanced team's good for a nice little Sweet 16 run, though.
Yeah, that's why they're gonna end there.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. There you go. That seems appropriate then for North Carolina.
Should I have Duke or Oregon? Who you pick up?
I think I'm a little bit behind on the picks. I'm still catching up. I've got
Yeah.
LSU versus or UCLA versus Baylor, and I've got LSU versus Vermont in the Sweet 16. I got USC versus Kentucky. I do got USC and UConn in the Elite Eight. Okay, I know I'm gonna have TCU. Oh man, is Haley Van Lith gonna eliminate Michigan in the Sweet 16?
Jeez.
Oh no, I don't know if we want that to happen. Maybe South Florida goes to the Elite
I know. I got South Florida beating Ohio State.
Do you have them taking down Texas?
No, I can't do that.
No.
I can't do that.
Are we gonna have all
don't know,
top
man.
teams? Am I gonna have all 1 and 2 seeds?
They outscore opponents by 23 points a game.
South Florida?
Texas is yeah.
South Florida might be good. This write-up is
Might
really
be good, but I'm not picking the 1 over the 12. I think Texas their paragraph, their team summary seems too good.
Are you just
to be
reading
true.
the
I don't know.
preview?
Yeah, that's all I got, bro.
Wait, where's this at?
You click the I on it, like on the edge, and then it opens some facts.
Where's this I at?
It's like on the, like when you where are you picking? I'm picking on March Madness, like
Oh, I'm on
play.ncaa.com.
ESPN right now.
Oh yeah, they got you, bro.
Oh, March Madness has got the write-ups. I knew I was
But I
missing
do
something
have
on the
yeah.
stats. They do got good. They do
No.
got a lot of stats and stuff to throw at you to make the picks. I may need to go log in over there. What's the Texas
Yeah.
write-up? Give us the Texas write-up.
Okay, so it says, let's see here. Texas saw its 15-game winning streak come to an end in a 64-45 SEC championship loss. The Longhorns, who have back-to-back 30-win seasons, entered the tournament with 10 wins over AP top 25 teams this year and boast one of the country's best winning percentage and outscore opponents by 23 points. They're good. They're really good. Not good enough to beat TCU though, because well, it is funny because they talk about like how TCU is like they're center. They have 31 wins and only Texas has as many wins this season. So
So
you
two
know.
Texas teams in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, it's gonna be Texas showdown,
Uh-oh.
and TCU's gonna go to the championship against South Carolina. It's gonna beat the 10 seed Oregon because they're going all the way.
Yeah, I do have Oregon taking down Lehigh, so I got Oregon in the Sweet 16, another double-digit seed, and then
Do you have them beating Duke?
so you have West Virginia over
Oh,
North
Lehigh.
Carolina.
Yeah, I have West Virginia over North Carolina. Yeah. That's my upset.
and then
Um,
and then Oregon.
yeah, and then Oregon against South Carolina, and then South Carolina the 4 to play TCU, and then UCLA and USC as
Wait,
my
so what did the
Final Four.
Oregon write-up say that was so good?
Oregon was, let's see here, plain and loaded Big Ten. Oregon found itself on the bubble coming into Selection Sunday. While the Ducks weren't overly impressive, they shown they can compete. I don't know. I just like the Ducks. It's
It
their
literally says they're
branding.
not
It's literally
impressive.
branding. Yeah, it's branding. I don't. I love the jerseys. I wanna see
Nike,
the
pay
Ducks
more for the
practice.
write-up on
Well,
March Madness.
and like so they beat Vandy, and I don't like Vanderbilt as a school in general. It's just and then they
We're taking a
beat
strong
Duke.
anti-Vanderbilt stance.
I think they're gonna beat Duke because Duke has it's the first year being in the tournament. While Oregon's been there, it's their 18th appearance. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, they did have a tougher schedule to end the year, but I think I don't know, it's inexperienced. And so then they go against West Virginia, who why did I pick against West Virginia? Um, yeah, I don't know. They
Well,
were
you didn't
perfect
like
at
North
home.
Carolina, so you picked West Virginia.
So, yeah, exactly.
But I'm going to take
So,
West Virginia
well,
over Oregon and then South Carolina
okay.
over West Virginia.
Okay. Actually, well, West Virginia has a perfect home record, so they might be not used
So
to
maybe
being on
being
the
on a neutral
road.
court won't be as
Mm,
beneficial for
exactly.
him. But you said North Carolina was not playing well, right?
Yeah, they lost. Oh no, they played well. They don't have any player who's special.
Mm.
Their write up is like the shortest one out of everyone, so we're picking it off of character at this point.
So Oregon State's not in upset territory in round one.
Oregon State, I don't, they could. They could. I think that's the gap. That comes in with the gap. Like
North Carolina's a 20-point favorite.
it's tougher to pick the upset.
They did lose. They lost to UConn by 11, lost to Notre Dame by
Mm,
10, Florida State by 2. So they haven't really gotten destroyed by anybody. UC spent high in the season rankings en route to 27 wins.
yeah.
Didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but they're terrible on free throws, which is problematic in close games. Defensively, though, USC locks it down. It doesn't get as many steals, but it swats a lot of shots, is what it says about UNC. It says Oregon State stunned Portland in the WCC title game to earn an unlikely bid. Okay, so they're a bit of an underdog. Senior guard
Mm,
Katrina Ferreira is one of three scorers averaging double digits this season. The Beavers aren't a great shooting team, particularly from behind the arc. So they do make their free throws. Oregon State is strong rebounding, and they do keep their opponent off of the free throw line. So it could
exactly.
be a slow game and not a lot of great 3-point shooting, but if North Carolina doesn't hit their free throws, that could be a tough, problematic thing. Let's go Oregon State.
Oregon State, you're in.
I'm in,
All right.
and then still West Virginia
Oregon
though.
State. All right. Yeah, I'd still pick West Virginia.
So I've got the 14, the 15, and the 10 seed advancing in that side of the bracket to the second round.
Oh my gosh.
I've also got a 12, a 13 in the regional 3.
You're just trying to pick all the upsets.
I feel good about these
Anyway,
upset picks though.
we'll see. I don't know. I got USC and South Carolina in the final, with South Carolina being TCU, USC being UCLA, and I'm gonna have Juju Watkins get her first ring.
Ooh, her first one. So you're saying there's
Her
multiple in the
first. Who
pipeline
knows?
here.
Who knows? Maybe, who knows? It makes sense as a sophomore, like you're on the come up, like you're taking a step, like people don't even realize, they're kind of like, oh, is she all right? And then junior year, that's where, like, knock on wood, like you have a little bit of a setback. And then senior, you're like fully formed and you get another one.
I've
Write it,
got
book it.
I've got Vermont in the
70,
Elite Eight in a
say
win over
73,
LSU.
68. Yeah.
Hopefully, let's see what it says about Vermont. Hopefully, it says nice things about this 15 seed.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I don't want to pick them over LSU. I just want to get the write up
Let's
here
see.
real fast.
Don't worry.
Catamounts start
I'll spend a little money when I win the $1 million challenge. I'll spend a little on the pot.
perfect bracket. Yeah, pay IT
Yeah.
some few bucks for their hard
Yeah,
work.
they've been working for free for so long.
No, it's okay. IT doesn't really do anything anyways. So I feel like they get paid pretty equally for what they do. Senior forward Anna Wilson is a very effective shooter and the team's only double-digit scorer, and is in rotation that's runs 7 deep. Vermont is very accurate inside the paint, but it struggles on free throws and just average on defense. Catamounts are at a 6-game winning streak into the tournament. Oh yeah, they might be in trouble in game 1, honestly. My bracket could easily fall apart. Maybe NC State is just a struggling team though headed into a tournament. That would be the only hope. They did win a share of the ACC regular season title, but got trounced by Duke in the title game. Their star scores 18 points a game. Zoe Brooks, solid secondary scoring option. The Pack shoot well in the paint and are adequate from deep. Is also a tremendous rebounding team while committing very few turnovers. They get plenty
Oh,
of
he's reading the
blocks and play
write-ups.
a very clean game. Yeah, ESPN does, it looks like, have a little
Shout
something
out.
on here.
There you go. We found the write-ups.
So yeah,
Making informed choices.
we might actually have to go NC State. Sorry, Rosillo. I tried.
Yikes. Yikes. I
But you're off the hook,
I
buddy. You don't have
lied.
to pay attention.
Oh, sorry.
We know
Get back to watching NBA games.
Yeah, we know Russillo's not checking in. What was he
It
saying
is
last
funny,
year?
like how he's like, I literally. It's funny his elitism with like, I can't watch college basketball. Like, I could turn the channel to NBA and watch 10 times better basketball. It's like, all right, buddy, that's not the point.
What did he say last year about like? Was it like Caitlin Clark versus Paige Beckers or something? And he was like saying something about he'd rather watch like Pelicans and Spurs. I don't know, Chad.
Yeah, I think I remember watching it. And yeah, it's like, whoa, okay. He's
It's like
like,
okay, that is
hey,
still a pretty good
Wizards.
game. I mean,
Jeez,
Pa-
Wizards kind of look good after that win over Denver.
oh yeah, you never know. Jordan Poole
Both
versus
carries.
Paige Beckers. It's a tough call sometimes for Russillo.
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
I don't know. I kind of like NC State now though to make a bit of a run.
Mm.
Though I think Lauren Betts might be on a pace for a special tournament. I don't know.
Yeah.
They look kind of unstoppable in some of the games, some of the clips that I was seeing. So I don't know if it matters. LSU, NC State, who she ends up playing here. But no, you know what? I liked Vermont making the run. Something about it looked nice.
Oh,
We're back
switch it
in,
back
Chad. We
up.
switched it back. We're going to Vermont.
Oh gosh.
The 1 versus 15. Give me
Run's never
UCLA.
gonna pick us.
UCLA versus UConn. UConn over USC in the Elite Eight. Let me look
Mm.
up this USC roster one more time.
I'm telling you, there you gotta put respect, man.
Obviously, Juju Watkins is going to drop 25 plus in this game. I'm not saying that Juju Watkins. I'm just saying in a tough performance is UConn have a couple more players. I just need to see this group one more time. Then again, they were saying they needed to be the #1 overall seed, but
They gotta walk it like they talk it. Then
Kiki, I don't know if I'm gonna say the last name right, but Kiki Irefin at 18 a game, and then Kennedy Smith at 9. So it really is a two-person combination of Watkins and Irefin leading the team. But they did win the big
There you
season
go.
regular tournament. 3 losses
they did.
on the year. Oh man, UConn though. I know we looked him up a little bit earlier, but Paige Beckers, it's something Fudd is her last name. I forget what her first name is though. They've been playing big rotation minutes for him as well. Oh wait, I'm on the men's team. It's like Dan Hurley doesn't coach the women's team. They paid him so much, he's got to just now start.
Exactly. He's doing both. It's a small school. What can we say?
It's like he's also the history teacher.
Exactly.
I bet Gino teaches a class over there.
I can see it.
31-3. Sarah Strong at 16 a game. Isaiah Fudd at 12 a game. Ashlyn Shade at 8 a game. Caitlin Chen at 8 a game or 7 a game. And then Aubrey Griffin and Jana Alfai at 5.5, giving them a rotation minutes. They have 9 players. They have 11 players playing 8 minutes or more. So they have plenty of options. It looks like that could also just be them winning a lot of games by a lot and they did win games pretty decisively. So that could be a tough just team matchup for USC. And then UCLA over UConn. I don't know why, but I feel like one of these one seeds is going to get taken down between South Carolina and Texas. And I don't know if I can pick another. Can I pick South Florida into the Final Four? After it said that
are you gonna do the bit? You gotta commit.
It said they weren't that good though, and Texas was.
You gotta commit to the bit, man.
So Texas, South Carolina, UConn, and UCLA. UCLA versus Texas in the championship game, and then UCLA winning the women's championship. Does that sound reasonable?
You have UCLA winning the championship, and what was the other part?
I have UConn and UCLA on that side of the bracket, and I have UCLA winning that game to get to the national championship. And right now I have Texas and South Carolina on the other side in the Final Four. And I have Texas in the national championship.
Wow, you don't trust South Carolina, huh?
Well, I just feel like one of those teams is
And
going to get
Juju
upset.
Watkins knocked out early, too?
I have her losing to
Wow.
UConn.
Wow, that's tough.
Unfortunately. But yeah, I have UCLA winning the whole thing.
Okay. Well, it's either going to be one of the California schools.
So LA is going to get a ring regardless.
Yeah,
It's just what it
exactly.
is. But actually, let me submit the picks. Let me lock it in, chat.
Lock
Lehigh
it
over Duke. We gotta
in.
lock it in.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's a hot take. You're really gone.
UCLA. Look at that. Give me the ESPN bet plus 650. Give me the parlay for all these teams to make the Final Four.
Parlay, yeah, throw it in there.
I really want to lose some money. Let me go back to the men's bracket real
Unreal
quick and
money.
see if there's any picks that we needed to
Wait, what's this? You would
clean up.
draft Steph Curry over Michael Jordan?
Oh, wait a second.
I didn't know we were in the hot take machine.
Am I getting out of control when you're not here? Sometimes the takes get a little crazy at the end of the pods. Who knows?
That's crazy. Yeah, go back and listen.
I'm not exactly sure what IT clipped out there. IT, for once,
Mm.
actually doing work. Okay, they heard us say that we weren't going to pay him, and they clipped out a video. I see. I see. They work
Well,
fast.
I heard there's a potential of them getting paid.
Yeah, they're like, wait a second, a bonus? Their incentives. It's like Zion. They've got to play so many games. IT's got to just be out on the court for so much.
Do you have a favorite March Madness moment? I guess now that we're in March Madness mood, I'm watching the video.
Favorite
You
March
know,
Madness moment?
there's the
Ooh.
double clutch, North Carolina,
Marcus Page?
Villanova. Yeah,
That was
Marcus
fun.
Page. Man, I thought Marcus Page was going to be real.
NBA guy?
Yeah, and then Ryan Ashton. It's crazy to think like who is actually good in the tournament and who's good in like actual basketball, like NBA. Like Ryan Akno, like where is he? Like someone get IT on him. Or that three by Jordan Poole. You remember Jordan? Oh my
I was going to
gosh.
say that was the first one that I thought of because, I mean, I remember exactly where I was on that. I thought we were going to lose that game. We were going to not make this, even the Sweet 16. That was in like the round of 32. So it would
Yeah.
have been an early exit. And yeah, it was just this random buzzer beater that all of a sudden we're just winning this game that we shouldn't have won. So that was the first one that came to mind. But again, it's an early tournament moment. So I don't know if it has the impact of some of the greater stuff. The other one that really comes to mind as well too is just the first half versus Texas A&M. The year that Michigan made the championship game and then lost to Villanova, they had this
Yeah, that's tough.
they had this first half against Texas A&M where they hit like 14 threes, and it was just like it was like the peak basketball that they played that entire tournament. So that game was pretty fun. It looks like
There's also
Archidiakono is
the
on the Windy City Bulls.
UCLA run. And there's also UCLA run, Johnny Juzang,
Juzang? I like
and then
Juzang.
Jalen Suggs. That one moment, that was man. I couldn't tell you. My Jalen Suggs stock couldn't have been higher after
Yeah,
that.
I think Jalen Suggs is
After
about
that
as much.
final.
Honestly, Cooper Flagg may have passed Jalen Suggs now for mentions during a college basketball season because Jalen Suggs was way up there.
Yeah, and there's of course Northern Iowa. They had that comeback
Ooh.
against Texas. I'm just going through a YouTube video right now.
Robert
Shout out.
Williams, I think, was on that team. Texas A&M team.
Yeah.
That was like a fun Texas A&M Twin Towers team. They had another forward on that team as well too that I thought was going to be maybe a fun NBA guy, but didn't turn out to be much.
It's just
But
funny. It's just like, oh, this is why I'm not an NBA scout. Like,
I know I'd have so many misses. So many times I would have taken the wrong guy.
exactly.
But Trey Burke as well too had a big buzzer beater in one of their tournament runs.
Yeah. No, I'm starting to get into the older videos. And I'm like, bro, I don't even know.
Glenn Rice winning the national championship in '89.
There was that one year I didn't watch. Yeah, San Diego.
Can I
against
claim that
UConn.
one?
Is this the first year that it's worth watching college men's again? Because like last year was rough. The last couple years have been bad.
Yeah, there does seem to be a little bit more excitement going into the tournament, and the other tournaments have been tough too because the lower seeds have been like we had that one Final Four a couple years ago. Where it was like a 9 seed, a 5 seed, a 6 seed, and
Yeah.
it just wasn't a bunch.
Like
of great teams.
when Florida Gulf, whatever is your Final Four against who was it? Like UConn won it with like was that Jordan Hawkins' team
I think it was
or
UConn
something?
versus
Like,
San Diego State. San Diego
yeah,
State
I was
the
like,
national
oh my
championship.
gosh, like
And San Diego State's a good school, but they were like a 5 seed that year. You know, it's
like
just
come
like a
on.
weird matchup.
Yeah, like thank God for women's basketball. Like it was so bad. It was so bad.
So this will
I
this will
remember
be
that Loyola Chicago run. That was crazy too.
Yeah, Michigan ended that. That was great.
Yeah.
But this will
Or
be a good year
Kansas
for it
went to
because
me.
it's like the women have that extra generated interest, but they've been established for a couple years now. So
Exactly.
we're in the habit of now we got to focus on both.
Yeah.
So for people
I
like
will say,
us,
as a Kansas fan, that 2008 championship, you
oh
know,
yeah, against Derrick Rose,
Mario Chalmers hitting that shot to take it into overtime,
I
and
was really
then
rooting for D Rose that year. I'm not gonna lie. I was really bummed out when
really,
D Rose didn't win the title. Yeah,
he was on Memphis, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
What a great Memphis
No,
team. Memphis in the
I
national
was so
title.
home. Yeah, they're back. Penny Hardaway coaching.
Derrick Rose and Chris Douglas Roberts, I think, was the other guy. I don't even remember who else was on that team. Just
Yeah.
those two
Remember when we
guys.
thought Carson Edwards was supposed to be good?
Well, he was like 5'9" though, so he never got
Yeah,
NBA hype like
yeah, I
that.
guess.
But he dropped 40 against that's a game that I love. I love that Carson Edwards performance.
Our shout out Ty Jerome. That Virginia team with Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter and who else?
Kyle
Kyle
Guy.
Guy, I think was on that team. Yeah. And
Kyle
then
Guy was a lot of fun.
there's that big
See,
forward too. Yeah.
they took down an Auburn team. I guess I just like Auburn teams, but they had a Bryce Brown.
Yeah,
Remember Bryce
too.
Brown?
Mm.
Bryce
There's
Brown at
also that
Auburn.
Purdue game. The one I'm looking at right now is the Purdue game and the
I also really love that Duke UFC game, the Zion versus Taco Fall game.
Oh, that was a great game.
That's an all-time
That was an
game.
all-time game.
That
I
might
think
be like a
it
number one
was-
rewatchable college basketball game for me, honestly.
Yeah. No, that is like him going at Taco Fall, and that's like honestly Zion at his best.
Is that Zion Williams Apex Mountain when we do the Zion Williams
Definitely
career?
Apex Mount.
That's
Definitely Apex
insane.
Mount.
That's insane. That who would have thought that game against Taco Fall would have been peak at Zion Williamson? But pause. But
Yeah. I was so mad that Sam Decker and Frank the Tank beat that Kentucky team though. I wanted to see him.
I like that
undefeated
Tyus
team.
Jones team. I like Tyus Jones that year on Duke.
I really wanted to see him win. And then of course we can't forget Michigan knocking out Kansas.
Yep. That's the Trey Burke game I was talking about. That's an
Yeah,
all-timer.
friendly fire. Glenn Robinson, right?
Yep. Tim
Oh,
Hardaway
jeez.
Jr.
Oh jeez.
We were
Yeah,
stacked
it's
in that
tough
lineup.
watching it back. I heard. Just
Are you actually
it
watching the
back.
highlight?
I'm watching, yeah, them in overtime trying
Wow.
to throw up that three, and jeez Louise.
You're a real
He
man.
still had, what's his face? Boheim,
Boeheim, yeah.
Boeheim, yeah, before he went to Cavs. He got laughed out of town.
It's all good. We got Dusty May now.
There you go.
And the Juwan Howard.
You
run was
really
good.
like him, huh? Like,
I'm all
I
in.
mean, he definitely turned stuff around, but you guys are like third. Like, it's not like you guys went undefeated.
Well, but we were really not supposed to be. We were not even really supposed to be a team at all. I think
Mm.
just us making the tournament would have been an accomplishment, but now it's like, we won the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
We're at least a feisty team. We're probably going to get knocked out in the first
Okay.
round, but at least it's a fun season. At least we
You
overachieved.
get knocked out of the first round. That's crazy.
I just like overachieving. Harbaugh overachieved his first
Yeah.
year. We didn't like win the Big Ten or anything. I think we even lost. Well, no, we won the bowl game that year, but it was the building blocks of something. It's the building blocks of something for Dusty May.
Building block. The loss that most surprised me was De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk that one
That's
year.
another great game.
With North Carolina. That was a great game.
The North Carolina game is a great game, but the game before that, the UCLA game, the
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball versus De'Aaron Fox matchup. is
That was
another
an
classic.
all-time. It was like, are we watching the number one
And that was an
two
all-time
matchup
hype
here?
game as well too.
Yeah. Justin Jackson was supposed to be. I thought Justin Jackson had something. Man.
Justin Jackson, I was always annoyed with his game.
Really?
Yeah, I just didn't. I don't know, something about guys that just I know are not going to be NBA guys. It's like when they're balling out in the tournament. Especially when I was a kid, I
Yeah.
was like, I want to see NBA guys ball out in the tournament.
I still can't believe. Yeah. Now I'm seeing that North. You and I lost.
But I
to
did think Joel
Texas
Berry was going
A&M.
to be an NBA guy, so
Yeah.
what do I know? RJ Barris, Joel Berry
know.
reincarnated. I'm back in. Pause.
Packing. That's what it is.
Assuming they win their playing game, I've got them in the Sweet 16, but they might be out literally before the tournament even starts.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, no, that was my main takes. Duke is number one. Was there anything with NBA? Nothing really crazy going on with NBA. I think have we talked about this? Who's your MVP? You have SGA or Jokic?
I would probably lean Jokic right now, but
Yeah, same.
if the internet pressure gets too much, then I'll cave. I'll vote SGA.
Really, really, SGA man.
I'll cave to perception for sure. But I mean, Jokic is obviously the MVP of the league. It's just what Shea
Yeah,
is accomplishing.
I get it. Shea's having a great season, but like, he's getting his rewards. He's getting his due. Like and again, I'm not here to litigate whether it's like ethical scoring or unethical or whatever. Is it his body type? Blah blah blah. Because it is interesting. It would be a good film watch. I would recommend is watching him against Anthony Edwards. Like Anthony Edwards will just go really strong to the rim all the time, like normal driving, and you'll see like how SGA his herky jerky movement side to side, like and him just being a skinnier guy and making contact more obvious when it happens lends him to more scoring, and the refs actually call it while like and being strong and trying to come off as strong is why he's getting less calls because it comes off as incidental contact, and it's like you actually could score more if you flop more. Like it's just
Mm.
it's just how the game is built.
Brunson.
But yeah, but I just think that Thunder, if again, like I mentioned earlier, how many Denver players would play in the rotation of the Thunder? Like, it's outside of like Jamal and Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon had 38, shout out.
Mm-hmm.
But like, is Russell Westbrook really like, are you really playing Christian Braun at all? It's a serious question. And I know there's the gap of 11 wins, but yeah, I'm just saying Denver Jokic without Jokic, Denver would be like fighting to stay in the plan, and without SGA,
Yeah,
I
Denver might be
think
like a
you could
Cooper
see
Flag team
OKC
without
a fourth seed.
Jokic.
Yeah,
Like legitimately, like who would Jamal Murray's now their best player with the season Jamal Murray's having?
it's not even close. So I don't. Yeah, I
Like,
don't.
are
I
they
get it. There's voter fatigue. People are like, "Oh, I'm just sick and tired of voting for him." But
are they
come
better
on.
than the Raptors without Jokic?
Yeah, they're better than the Raptors. I don't know.
Put Jokic with Scotty Barnes,
Maybe. I
Barrett,
don't
and
know.
quickly.
Yeah, is Scotty Barnes a straight up better player than Jamal Murray?
He may be a little more consistent night to night. I think peak Murray's still better, but yeah, I mean, and he's got a
Yeah.
two-way thing as well too that he could give you potentially pause compared to Murray. But I don't mind. I kind of like gearing the MVP toward the bigger picture thing as well too, of just like who's the guy that you would rather have in the moment. And Jokic is still just
Yeah.
the number one. Jokic is still just the number one guy in the league. There's no question around it. So as much as Shea is having
Yeah.
the great MVP check off the boxes for what a typical MVP season should be, I think if you're asking me how I would like to think about the MVP going forward, it's that who is the actually, who is the most valuable player in the league? Who's the player in the league that I would want to
Exactly.
have the most? And it's pause, it's Jokic.
Well, and I think that might be two different things because I think actually if you pick the player who you most want to have in the league is actually Wemby because of his future, because of his ceiling.
But you're not.
But
But that's a
and I
different thing as well. Like the MVP still has to be like as you're playing right now.
Yeah, but you don't want to just default to the best player or the hottest player, type thing. At least for me, when I pick MVP, it's like who's the most valuable player to their team? Like who brings the most value to their team? Because that's what the most valuable value to their team. And who changes the fortunes of their team the most? Because it's the most value that they bring. And it's Jokic by a lot. And I mean, and SGA brings value to his team for sure. No one's saying he's a bum or anything. He's had an excellent season, best scorer so far this year. But when you look at the all-around game from Jokic, he is bringing the most value to his team as the most valuable player. And I just feel like it gets complicated sometimes. And it's like, oh, SGA looks cooler. It's more fun, blah, blah, blah. Who brings the most value to their team? It's Jokic. And and I think there's definitely years where the best player doesn't bring the most value to their team because their team around them is pretty good. Um, but if you're looking at what team would have the biggest variance in their season this year, without that player, like with or without that player, it's Jokic, and it's not even close. And I get, we're tired of giving him the thing, but if he's the most valuable player, then why are we awarding it to someone who isn't? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think we kind of end up like at least for this season end up in the same spot with it. But it is kind of the same thing, like the guy you'd want to have versus the guy that provides the most value. But I don't necessarily want to be the guy that says this with Wembanyama either. But like, are we totally just still like locked in that Wemby over all these other young guys is actually just set in stone? Because I mean,
Yeah.
again, like with what Shea is producing this year, like it's at least a conversation to have of like,
Yeah, it's not no, you can't get another Wemby out there. Now, Shea is great, mind you, great. But there are a lot more talented guards out there than talented people at Wemby's size. And and in terms of the defensive side, like that's something you can't just go out and get in terms of his shooting and stuff. It's just the size. Like you can't teach someone to be tall. You can't teach someone to be that big. You can teach someone to kind of have similar footwork, to flop more often, to have that kind of shooting. Shooting is something you can definitely teach. You can definitely teach pace of game. You can teach people to slow down. Now, they may not be as good or as on it or as reactive as SGA, but his skills are definitely a lot more top. While Wemby, you just can't teach to be that tall and that long and that agile as Wemby is. And so I think that's why he's clearly the top. I think that's why you have so many guards in the league, or it's so much easier to find talented guards. Is because there's just more humans on Earth who are 6'3" than 7'5". Like it's just math.
I guess I just need to be a little more patient with the Wemby offensive upside because Davis did get there after a while too to be like an actual.
And he's hurt. He's hurt.
And he is hurt. I guess that's just the thing that I'm worried about is like, is he going to be the guy that can offensively be the guy you go to at the end of games? Because I think defensively he's obviously going to be an anchor on the court.
Yeah.
But if he is going to be a number one guy, he's going to need to be either a great offensive player as well, or he's going to need another like truly offensive great player next to him. Where it's like, it's not even like a Shaq Kobe thing, because again, like Shaq could be a number one in his own right. But it's like we know Shea right now is a number one guy from a scoring standpoint. Anyways, I guess we still need to see how he can impact this stuff in the playoffs and all that stuff. Like, is he definitely
Yeah, and Shea's at the peak of his powers. Like Wemby still is like, how old is he? Like 20, 21, 22? Like he's just got started and he's already like maybe the defensive player of the year.
And now that
Like
he's of
and
legal drinking age, the beer can help add on pounds.
oh gosh. But he's literally like already competing for best player. And I know you mentioned like defensive anchor, but like yeah, again, like I don't you've seen it with Jokic and stuff. Like he can probably bring the ball up the court more often, initiate offenses more often, and we've seen his shooting things along those lines. But of course, the best situation is with a guard, and you see it with Jokic too. Like he needs, I mean, he in those big moments, like he plays better with Jamal Murray handling the ball and kind of like working around with him. And so, who knows if he's able to do that with Fox, with Wemby. But I think there is a path where the number one guy is the center, and you still have a pretty comparable to really good guard around him. But that guard is the guy. And of course, Wemby's not going to have the same passing chops, but he is going to be a threat as a scorer. And yeah, I mean, it's I'd say Jokic, with maybe decrease the passing obviously scale, but it's kind of the blueprint for like, okay, like we kind of can do this, or Embiid, if he was actually healthy half the time. Like there's definitely a blueprint for having your center as the number one offensive option, even if he's not bringing the ball up the court every single possession.
I get you're saying I in the Jokic upside of it would be awesome. Obviously, that's what we're hoping to get. But I could actually, I just am, I for some reason I'm seeing like an Anthony Davis type path form for him.
Yeah,
where
but his ceiling's a lot higher though.
It is, and maybe he has still the totality of it is better, but the impact that Davis had, where and again it's.
Yeah.
I'm the offensive upside if that can like you're saying he's literally the best defensive player in the league right now, so that is set in stone. It's for the that is a title contributing type thing. It's just the pushing him into the era of like him actually doing it as the best guy. Pause. Like Davis still needed LeBron, and it's not that he needed a second best player. He needs that second best player that can be a number one. Where MJ, is Pippen ever gonna like we thought maybe he could, but he never actually has to be the number one. He gets to just be the number two the whole time. Like, can Wemby be the number one the whole time? And again, like LeBron.
Well, and the league was just worse when MJ was in.
Well, and again, like
I think
LeBron
now the talent is too high. Like you need a number two and maybe even a good number three. Like I don't think
I
a
mean, maybe,
championship
but
team in 2025 can't win with one Hall of Famer on there.
I
I
mean,
don't,
how many Hall of Famers do the Celtics have right now? Is Jalen
I
Brown?
don't,
Jalen
Jalen
Brown might
Brown.
be a Hall of Famer, but
Exactly. Like, I don't, you know, Jalen Brown might, I don't, who
but
knows?
Jalen Brown is the
I
type.
think, it,
But Jalen Brown's the exact type of number two that I'm talking about, where Jalen Brown
yeah,
is not a franchise guy, in theory,
but finals MVP guy,
but
yeah.
he is a Finals
Conference
MVP.
MVP.
Like Wemby might
Yeah.
need another franchise guy, if that makes like Davis kind of needed a slash needs another franchise guy, not just another number two. You know,
Do you think De'Aaron Fox can get there?
no. I mean,
Oh, you're
De'Aaron Fox.
out.
They didn't trade De'Aaron Fox to be the second best player on the team. I don't think. Like, I think they made the De'Aaron Fox deal because it was such a good value. Like, they didn't really. Basically the only player they gave up on the roster was I think Zach Collins. They moved his contract out, so you do that every
Yeah,
other
but
week.
he gets
But
hurt all the time, man.
in terms of minutes, the only guy they moved out was Trey Jones. So you're giving up a first round pick to upgrade Trey Jones to De'Aaron Fox. Like, it's kind of it's a good move. So you have to make a smart basketball move when the opportunity presents itself. But in terms of, is this the move that now makes them a title team? I mean, you saw it on the court. Like, they brought him in. They were still in the mix with games with like the Hawks and still in close games with these mid tier teams at the end of the game. Where, if that is the type of move that pushes him over the top, you probably see him in a different tier competitively, at least, right away. But again,
I mean, don't count him
I'm
out.
not counting him out. Like,
I
De'Aaron
think
Fox
with a
could be a guy
much
on the roster.
yeah, and Wemby's. I mean, would you say Wemby's already a better player than Domantas Sabonis? If they
Yeah.
get some pieces around this team, we've seen this formula get to the second round of the playoffs, and Wemby hasn't really taken off as a player yet. So I think maybe give Dr. Fox a little more leeway. I think there is a path for you guys to maybe make like a conference finals if you have a really good team around them. Really good offseason with Wemby and De'Aaron Fox. Like they kind of build that synergy. They have some things break their way. They're playing the Lakers or something. And that defensive presence is just so much. I think now the ceiling of Fox, do I think he's a number two on a championship team? Like that's definitely not something that I've seen from him yet. But we have seen him, at his peak, really show up in playoff games and be a serious player. So I think he could definitely take y'all not on his own, but with Wemby, I think they can definitely have a path where they make it to the second round and maybe compete for conference finals. And I think that'd be the goal for you guys next year with everyone healthy and a couple more pieces. I mean, you guys need some depth. So it's a little rough right now.
And MJ also got hurt in his second season. So the Wemby MJ parallels, they just keep adding
There you
up.
go. There you go.
The alien jump man.
Oh,
I think it's all
who
basically the
knows?
same.
Who knows? But anyways, I gotta go eat. But it's been good chopping up with y'all, and yeah, I'm excited to see some games tomorrow. Duke
Let's
by a
go,
million,
people. We got
man.
a Sam bracket tonight.
Blue
It was a
Devils,
success.
Blue Devils. Oh yeah, I need to finish the Playboy Cardi album. I don't know, it wasn't so far. I wish it was better than it was, but
Is
I don't know.
Playboy
Evil
Cardi
Jordan's great, but
is Playboy Cardi a major rotation player for you though? Anyways,
yeah, his good stuff, his high end, I love it.
really, like
We're in.
top 10 artist for you?
Yeah, I'd say top five.
Oh, okay. See, Playboy Cardi, this is like the first time I've ever gone into the album experience like with the pre-roll and everything. Like everything else has been
Yeah,
like I'll listen to it later. Playboy Cardi's not really been in the rotation. So I,
yeah,
at least from consuming some of the reviews from it, it does seem like I benefited from the fact that I'm a new Playboy Cardi fan. Where
yeah,
some of the stuff of it, people were like, okay, I've heard this before. This is a little old sound from Playboy Cardi. Like for me,
exactly.
there was a newness to all of it. So it may get like
Yeah.
a 2 or 3% bump for me. But yeah, there's a couple of the songs like Kendrick and Travis that are staying in the rotation. But
Yeah,
just
and I definitely recommend going listen to his older stuff because like his
yeah,
sound, it's like obviously people give him crap for you can barely understand what he's saying, but what he does with music, it's definitely like it's innovative. It's definitely different each time. Like it's kind
mm-hmm.
of the exact opposite of you. Like you kind of don't know what to expect, and when it hits, it like really hits. It's like like Evil Jordan. Like it's really it's just stuck in your head
Yeah,
and last it's kind of like timeless stuff, but it's more because of the music and the interloption or whatever
yeah,
of the beats and stuff like that. and not so much about. I mean, maybe some ad libs in there, pretty good, but like, you know, it's definitely his thing is definitely. I'd say he's almost more a musician than really an artist.
No, his
Or
production is definitely the driving
but
force of his music for sure. But
yeah,
his older stuff, you're right. Where I mean, he's obviously ASAP Rocky's label and everything, but it was a little more like he's still forming his own sound. So like we get to where we're at now with Whole Lot of Red and I Am Music, and we're really in like a full Playboy Cardi sound. But in some of those
yeah,
early stuff, you still like that psychedelic stuff that you get in ASAP Rocky's music. It's still like the influences of that are still very heavy, I think, in those earlier projects, where at least it's more in line with that sound before you get, again, with this later stuff, him and more to this full Playboy Cardi sound. So like I like the ASAP Rocky stuff, going back to that. So yeah, I like the Playboy Cardi songs that I do go back to are definitely off the first couple albums.
yeah. No, his stuff is definitely can be top tier, but who knows? I'll finish this album. We'll give it a chance,
He didn't
but
collab with Big X the Plug, which was disappointing, but
boo,
maybe next time.
boo. Should have done Big D-Lo too. But yeah. Anyway, keep up the good work. Good seeing you, and yeah, watch out. Don't be doing too crazy of takes.
Yeah,
I hear
I think you'll
Those are
think of
wild.
the Steph one maybe makes sense if you check it out.
All right, we'll see. All right, good seeing you.
All right, good seeing you.
All right, bye.
Hey, let's go, Sam. I didn't know if we were gonna get a Playboy Cardi situation with Sam, if he was gonna start like teasing his appearances and building, pause, but building anticipation for the next one. It's like, when's the next Sam appearance gonna drop? Oh, maybe tonight? No, but hey, that's why Sam is top tier. And again, not that Playboy Cardi's not top tier, but that's why maybe Sam is on that Kendrick Drake level instead of the. And is Playboy Cardi moving in? And I guess we went through the tiers as the last time as well too. Like Kendrick and Drake are probably on their own level at this point. Then you've got kind of Tyler and Travis, and maybe Tyler and Travis. And again, I think I'm just rehashing that conversation, but the legacy of Kendrick and Drake put them in their own tier as well. Tyler and Travis maybe are starting to compete a little bit commercially, but again, they're a generation behind, so you got to give the fact that Drake and Kendrick are still having that run their fair success, their fair share of success. But Playboy Cardi now is kind of fully in that Travis Tyler world, and like the numbers show it, and the numbers were basically purely streaming numbers, which from what I read was the first big number that they calculated, which was around 300,000. Let's see if it's on his page yet, chat. I want to say it was maybe in the 290s. Did it outsell GNX first week? Obviously, the staying power of GNX maybe a little more prominent than this one, chat. Let's see. They did retitle it to just music, because he did retitle it just music, I guess. But still on the cover it says I Am Music. So I guess that's just more of a sentiment than a title, chat. But in terms of commercial performance, it doesn't have it updated on here yet. But on Instagram, I think you guys were seeing, and I was seeing as well too, that it was on pace to do a very impressive number up near the maybe it was in the 250 range instead of 300, but somewhere in that 250 to 300. But regardless, that's the range that we were just talking about. Maybe like we were saying, Future. Not to just do just end the episode off with rap tiers, but Future has to be, again, with legacy as well too, and with the commercial power of everything that he puts out. Like he's definitely in that. We're saying tier 2, but like the A- tier of guys, or A tier, I guess, if there's no A-, A+, and then just an A tier, and then B+, B, whatever you want to divide it up. I don't want to put minus in any of the top tiers guys' names, because people are gonna be like, wait, Future in A- tier? It's like, no, we're putting him in like the top tier, and then you're gonna get upset that Future's not in a tier with Drake. But I mean, we get it, people. We can't deny the number. We don't deny the numbers, for so long. I guess the future numbers for Drake. We'll see solo album if he's in the 250 range again. It's like, oh, okay, this is the new Drake numbers. But until we see it, and until it's not a collab with Party Next Door, I guess we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Shout out to Party Next Door though, who these songs are gonna be his main rotation songs. I guess Nokia's not really a Party Next Door song, but regardless, it's his album. It's an album on his page too, so it's gonna be good for his numbers. His streams are definitely gonna go up because of it. But yeah, he definitely goes. in that role. Maybe over, Metro's a tough one, obviously, as a producer, but his influence just in the game in general, he's right there with all those guys. So, yeah, obviously established, obviously still getting people interested, and still, Sam still it's 30 songs, so Sam might be a couple more days getting his way through that track list, chat. Maybe you guys haven't worked your way through it as well, too. Again, it is a tough one. And I would pause, and I was trying to look up, because I was going to do a thing of, like, the best 30-song albums, but there haven't, shocker, chat, there haven't been a ton of 30-song albums, as it turns out. It's not really a thing that artists go to. There are some deluxes that get to 30, and maybe this Playboy card is like there's no deluxe, so maybe there's a world where he drops, 24 songs, 26 songs, and then gives you 4 to 6 songs in a deluxe version later on, but maybe he just, I am music, I'll just drop the whole thing at once and let people experience and pick out the songs they like and, whatever. But in terms of like a full just week one drop, this is what the album is. And honestly, yeah, slide in the DMs. REMINGTOM on Instagram. Let us know what I'm missing. Maybe there's some super obvious ones. But like, again, the Donda Deluxe is 30 songs. And the Donda Deluxe is maybe, you get Life of the Party. Maybe it's the go-to version of the album because of some songs versus the real version. But regardless, like the first week version is still in that 20 song range. All Eyes on Me is like 27 songs as a two discer. And again, like the Pinata Deluxe has like, and there's other deluxes where you get 30 plus tracks, but it'll be like they'll drop disc 1 will be the track side of the album, and then disc 2 is like the instrumentals and other versions of the track. So you're not getting necessarily 30 unique tracks and that. So if you guys can give us some suggestions and we can compile a list, we'll do a list of the top 30 plus song albums of all time. I guess I was thinking hip hop as well too. If we start branching out into other genres, did Coldplay drop a 30-song masterpiece? We'll have to go back and look. I feel like they probably dropped they're probably in the 12 to 10 album range. So who's an art? Bob Dylan, does he have any 30-songers? Who knows? But yeah. Anyways, we'll get out of here. Sam's not the only one that's hungry, chat. Hey, yo. Wait, whoa! Oh, sneeze! No, it just turned into a voice crack, chat. But it was a sneeze. I promise. We were gonna end the pod on a sneeze. Sneeze wrong. Tory Lanez? I don't know if we can shout out Tory Lanez to end the pod, but hey, yo, chat. Hey, yo. It is what it is. Shout out the bracket. Shout out March Madness. We will be on chat this week, of course, following the action, watching games. NBA will maybe be in the background somewhere if we can find room for it, but, of course, we're in the March Madness week, so that will be the main focus of what we have going on. Where'd our brackets go? Did I close out of the... Oh, no, here we go. Got to go up here. One last look at the women's Final Four. As of I'll definitely change this women's side for Texas. I'll probably change it and then end up working its way back to Texas, South Carolina. But I guess we got 3 1 seeds and a 2 seed for the women, and then UCLA winning the whole thing. But yeah, shout out to everybody. Good luck this weekend, kids, in the old March Madness. We'll see what happens. We'll have fun checking out the basketball and tuning into the old sports action, chat. But yeah, you guys can follow along here too on the YouTube at REMINGTOM. If you guys want to subscribe, again, we're on the podcast feeds as well too. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, whatever audio platforms. And of course, the audio platforms got to keep up. There's some video on there as well too. So I know Spotify's got the video. Make no mistake, chat. We were OG Spotify video people way back in the day. You guys can check the tapes. I mean, the video archive goes way back. So, and we're still keeping it up to date. And you guys can subscribe to those feeds over there and the social feeds as well too. The Instagram, and like we said, is the main one. So REMINGTOM Pod on Instagram. But that will do it for this episode. First quarter of Milwaukee versus Golden State is almost wrapped up here. 90 seconds left. Jimmy Butler at the free throw. Where else would you expect Jimmy Butler to be on the court, chat? He's going to be at the free throw line. Golden State up by 2. So we'll enjoy the rest of this game. Maybe we'll see. Again, that St. Patrick's Swayze marathon is not happening anymore. But we didn't watch all the movies, so we may just have to pick that rewatch some of those movies on our own. But there's another one, chat. I'm gonna have to pull that list back up. There's another one I wanted to rewatch. Above the Rim was on Tubi, so we knocked that one out already. But maybe there's another. Of course, another Tubi classic. So I guess we'll just have to go look it up, chat. You don't want to hear us think about it, so we'll get off now. Pause. Whoa! I got to stay on for like a few more. I can't leave now. But we got to watch the end of the first quarter. That can't be the last thing that we say, unfortunately. So we got to just watch Buddy Hield and Jimmy Butler for a last quarter, I guess. Oh, speaking of Buddy Hield, he cans a 3. They're going to extend this lead. Is Steph even playing, chat? We've been rambling about the bracket. We weren't even paying attention. It doesn't even matter. Kevin Porter Jr., come on, buddy. There we go. He knows we're watching now. He's got to start making these shots. Getting to the rim. Trying to keep Milwaukee in this game, chat. They've got Dame on the corner. In the corner right now. On Gary Payton Jr., they really don't want him doing anything. Gary Payton Jr. for 3, though. They said, hey, if Dame's going to leave you open, shoot the 3. Pause. And he put it up, but yeah, that's what you want if you're Milwaukee. Lopez on the other end. Yep. Missing just like you would expect, chat. Now, Lopez, shout out, of course. More consistent there in the past, but no Giannis on the court, no Steph, so no stars to end the quarter. Jimmy Butler better get this bucket to go. 10 seconds left. This is where he isolates. This is where he cooks, chat. And this is where he makes a sloppy interior pass. It can be sometimes the thing that you don't like about Jimmy Butler's game is his over-willingness sometimes. But first quarter, you know he'll be making those plays later in the game. Oh, there's Steph in the plain clothes, chat. Okay, so Tubi it is. Giannis or Tubi, chat. I guess we were watching, what was that Hawks-Hornets game earlier, chat? We were watching Dyson Daniels, and I don't even remember who was on the court. Nobody was on the Mark Williams. Dyson Daniels and Mark Williams instead of the Batman or Roadhouse. So there we go, chat. First quarter's over. We've served our timeout, and now we can go enjoy get supper, enjoy the rest of our evening on Tubi, and wait for the next live stream, chat.